Obama in me. The hood won't pop, hip-hop wanna see the common in me. And since it's a senseless contradiction, I end up a misfit trying to fit in. This ends when I stand up and see the hands of the standard. Holy is the Lamb. Now we holding you to man up, cause we were made in this image. Start looking at what you came from.
Instinct Radio has got more and more and more and more music coming your way.
You see the E was the C, but Adam is the one who let her in. No steadily, no we ain't leading, we basically little boys with muscles that I must tell. The femininity, we need a remedy to God, man, 100% masculinity. We the last. Yeah, where the men at? Seems like they all lost. None of them are on the scene, seems like they died off. They extinct, but my dream is the rise of we chasing the prize of the king of the boss. But we fed away, now we ungodly. We lose and we really got the blues like Navi. I wanna celebrate the news, it's what's happening. Fellas, let's elevate, we through with the live.
They lie, old heads said, boy, get your shine on. And if a sucker try to block you, get your nine home. And what I heard you gotta do to be a man now. Stand up for yourself, so I took it in my hands now. And that's the problem, man, we busy trying to solve it. All the while we walking dead. And somebody bring the coffin. Boy, drop peach fuzz, now you think to do a man. Cause you feeling yourself, you need to man up.
Yeah, there's many things man is chasing after. They got some questions, we got some answers. Sex and models and tipping bottles, back a pile of excuses right next to your bottle caps. A Rolodex filled with names that you aim to please. Next to the stack of money building up a heart of greed. Ice on his neck, giving jokers the cold shoulder. You drunk off pride, plus you loving the hangover. You got a whole lot of stuff that won't amount to gain. Life will never make sense because you never made change.
We got it twisted sick like a fever. Little man live stacked dough, keep on. Man up, get up out of that treehouse, leave them cookies alone. It's time to eat meat now. Trying to show you a new way to live now. No charge, you call it a freestyle. Without Christ, a normal man is. You're born a man's body like Tom Hanks in bed. Yeah. Being a man got nothing to do with age. You could be a boy till the day you lay in your grave. None of us behave like the image of who we're made. Cause we fall in the way, it's better known as the brave. Running from responsibility, really we crave. The easy way out of places that call us to pull our weight. Man, they born through everyday decisions are made. Responding to the call God's giving them from the game. Yeah. Let the process begin. Separate the boys from the men. It don't matter how you started. Partners about how you end. Jesus is the motto. Follow us, we gon' follow him. We the last of a dying breed. It's time that we man up.
Obama in me. The hood won't pop, hip-hop wanna see the common in me. And since it's a senseless contradiction, I end up a misfit trying to fit in. This ends when I stand up and see the hands of the standard. Holy is the Lamb. Now we holding you to man up, cause we were made.
biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. We're listening to Instinct Radio.
Tell a friend to tell a friend. Download the app on Google Play, Instinct Radio, or go to instinctradio.net. And now, back to the hottest sounds around. Instinct Radio.
Hello, everyone. It is Regina Sunshine here with the Boss Men on our monthly Living Like a Boss Men show here at Instinct Radio. I'm so excited to be here in spite of the rain. As Nick told us a little earlier, there's sunshine in the building, so everything is going to be all right. It's always a blessing to be able to sit in this space with some amazing men doing great things and share them and their stories with you, but also to introduce you to some other amazing people. We are excited to have as our guest today, Edward Archer is going to be with us via Skype. They know him as Special Ed. You guys remember him from the 1990s rap hit, I Got It Made. He still do a lot of things in music and doing some great things in community as well. We also have high school math teacher David Clay is on the way. We have Community Center founder and just all-around servant to the community, James Hamphill is here. We have internationally known Dr. Kedar Griffo here in the building with us, and Dr. Marquita Blades. It's going to be an amazing show, as it always is here. Some of you who have never been here in the studio with us on Boss Days, you need to come just down and meet the people. And normally we have a lot of extra people here, don't we? But I guess the rain kind of drove them away because don't we have folk everywhere trying to.
There's no chickens.
And there's no chicken. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. I have to tell y'all, Michelle Austin and her husband, y'all know Saga Boss from DTTO show? They fed our guests last week. They have a new catering business, and they brought chicken and fish and they had collards and macaroni and cheese and cornbread. It was amazing.
So
but anyway,
May 3rd or whatever, we look forward to that.
Oh, so you saying you want them here for the next Boss show to feed everybody?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. That's what we're about, promoting the greatness. So let's promote this great
Saga.
collard
I'm sure
greens.
they're putting it out there that they want you to come and feed the boss men.
Greens, beans, tomatoes.
Oh no, you did. His voice is good enough for that, right, Moose?
Yeah, he's working it. He's working it.
He working it.
I'm pushing through.
Well, somebody's phone is that Nicholas over here? Well, you know, the topic for today's show is educating our boys. And I think the last show we did across the street at JR Crickets was rebuilding our men. So we're bringing the conversation back to our boys today. And it's fitting that we have people in the building today that are actively involved in making a difference in the lives, not only our men, but our boys as well. So I'm excited about the conversation we're going to have today. But before we get started, you know, if anybody has any announcements, any events going on, I know normally we take a break and come back to that, but we got so much to do in this show today. There's no break here at the beginning of the show. So, Nicholas?
I'll get started. Of course, April 29th this month, I will be having the V2L en Blanc, the all-white charity dinner party in Savannah, Georgia on the riverboat. As of March the 23rd, the V2L Foundation is officially a nonprofit entity in the state of Georgia. Yes. And
yeah,
we need to get an applause thing.
We do. I think Saga has one for his show. We're going to have to borrow that, his little applause thing.
And the whole purpose of the foundation is really bringing business together to kind of give back to the community. We hear a lot of people talk about corporate responsibility, but they don't really do it. And a lot of younger businesses come in a whole notion of, I just want to make my money. So it's about, you make your money, but you also got to hold a whole piece of giving back. So the academic assets to give out scholarships, teacher grants, anything that influences the classroom. Perfect for today's discussion.
Exactly.
Then we have the community outreach, so giving back to nonprofit organizations that's doing great things. Business development grants, and you know that's my big thing. So I wanted to create a business development grant to give funds to starting organizations and businesses. And then family assistance funds to those families who might be struggling a little bit, who might need a rent deposit, utility deposit, just something to get over that hump. So those are the 4 initiatives that the Foundation is going to be responsible for, and this is going to be the launch event for that. So everybody come on out to Savannah. Tickets are only $125. It includes everything except for your travel down there and everything. So we're looking forward to it. You go to the v2lfoundation.org and you get all the information. And that's about all.
Well, congratulations, Nicholas Bartley. You're doing the thing.
That's what Boss is about. Right?
That's what Boss is about. It is. Musa Lotala.
Well, my announcement is I'm about to launch my real estate education courses. I'm working on that. YouTube channel coming. I've been getting a lot of good responses from just posting some of my
that last renovation you did, that house you flipped. Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, so I've been getting a lot of responses like that, and a lot of people, inbox me like, Musa, like, can you help me do this? Can I help you do that? So I'm like, why don't I just go ahead and start my own YouTube channel, because I'm not taking anything from the other gurus. Some of them teach it, but they don't do it. I'm one that do it and don't have the time to teach it. So now I'm trying to create a space where I can actually teach it. People can come out. I can show them numbers. I can show them how to deal with attorneys. I can show them how to deal with contractors. I can show them how to do everything well-rounded in fixing and flipping. And not just that, I can show them development, because nobody teach development. Like, some people get involved in real estate and they want to have a Trump-like business, but they're agents. Trump was never an agent. He was always a developer. So if you want the big, extremely big bucks in real estate, that's where you're going, development. A lot of us start off with the fix and flips, and the gurus teach everybody wholesale and stuff like that. But what I'm going to try to do with my YouTube channel is give everyone a well-rounded real estate education and some financial literacy in there and some personal development, because all that's truly me. Yes. And so that's what we're working on. That's coming maybe in the next month and a half. I'll probably have everything done.
I'm telling you, you guys are really growing and taking off.
It's not ready yet. Okay.
I'm so proud of you, Musa Lotula.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. I go back to, one day we're going to have to do a Where They Came From show. From when I first met y'all. Because when you want to tell your story? How we meet, Musa?
I was really shy. I met you after that Oprah episode. That story?
Yeah.
So, just laying around Sunday. I don't know if I was waiting for the football game to start, so I just tuned into Oprah's channel, and I'm watching OWN and Super Soul Sunday. Mm-hmm. So I just felt inspired, and I was like, let me get on the online and see who's making things happen in Atlanta. So as I was doing my Google search, Regina Sunshine popped up. So I immediately just emailed her. Never heard of her before, didn't know what she was about, never heard of Instinct at the time. And I was just like, let me just email her, just because I'm motivated. And whenever you're motivated, you got to take action immediately. That's right. Because you're in that space at that time. So from that email, launched me to meet her in person, to having a radio, to having a radio interview, to having her own show. And not only that, now we go into a speaking, and now we go into a whole lot of other avenues that was created because I got motivated one Sunday afternoon and sent the email.
Wow. That's what's up. That's what's up. You guys have been a blessing in my life. So I have to say that I think we have motivated each other. A lot has happened since we met each other.
Exactly.
So I'm thankful to have brothers like you.
It's almost been a year, right?
Has it been a year?
Yeah. So it's pretty close. Either April or May.
Yeah. Good things happening at Instinct Radio. Mm-hmm. Laris Hodges, what you got going on?
Well, actually, no notable relative personal announcements. However,
that show of yours is notable.
Well, it is. It is. And so I guess I'll pause for station identity, Instinct Radio. You can check my show out tomorrow, Beer and a Conversation, from 6 to 9 p.m. on Instinct Radio. And I think that you'll enjoy it. We're still working on some of the things, but we left off talking about the effectiveness of whooping children in the home, and whether it works, whether it's relevant or not. Is there any true biblical background to the notion of spare the rod, spoil the child? What was the actual context of that from the shepherd to the sheep? And then does it help to create an environment for our children who may get older and then associate domestic abuse with love because they were taught by somebody that, that loved them? Because I love you, I do this. And so there's going to be some things that we're going to be getting into with regard to that, so you can tune in tomorrow. And then it'll be some other things as well. But I know that it is spring break week for a lot of teachers, and we really understand the responsibility and the gravity of that position and what they take on. So I just want to tell them enjoy their week off.
Awesome. We got one in the room. How you doing, Mr. Clay? Well, you know, your show is one of my favorite shows. I tell everybody that because you do have some great conversations, and it is a show that I think men can tune into and get that real, like you said, beer in a conversation. The kind of conversations guys sit around and have with each other
on the porch. You know, and it's uncut. And it's not scripted. It's very organic, and we're not the church, but yokes are broken. And the reason I say that is because the end result, a lot of times when we get off the air, there have been people that sat on the panel. There have been my own family. There have been people that text me, call me, send me messages, and you never know the impact that you even have on people's life. But one of the best things about it is it's our ability to be transparent and tap into and talk about things that are typically very taboo in our society. And you find there's a lot of people that actually have strong feelings about it, but maybe don't have the grit to bring it out in the open. So
yeah. Well, you know, I've often said that people can call into a radio show and say things they would never say and in mixed company. So it gives them the opportunity to kind of get that off their chest and share their thoughts as well. So definitely tune into A Beer and Conversation here every Tuesday from 6 to 9. Our only 3-hour show was that good that Jack was like, we got to do it for 3 hours. Well, announcements for me, I just want to mention two things. The Regina Sunshine show and the Living Like a Boss show does air also on People TV Tuesdays from 12 to 1. So generally the show you see here live, in a couple weeks it shows up again on People TV. And the blessing is I was at People TV last week, you guys, doing an interview on someone else's show. And the guy that does the programming, he said, we love your show so much, we play it all the time. Wow. And I was like, so I'm thinking it's from 12 to 1. And I was in class, Mr. Clay, last week, and a student looks at me. He said, didn't I see you on TV last night? And I was like, really? I'm like, yeah, that was me. So I'll shout out to People TV and thank them so much for seeing the value in what we do here and playing it over and over and over during the course of the week. I thought that was pretty cool as well.
Excellent.
And the only other announcement I want to make, well, I do want to mention my book launch is this Saturday from 1 to 3 over at J.R. Crickett's. Here at Atlanta is the launch of my very first official book, Regina Sunshine, State of Mind, 7 Keys to Help You Get Your Mind Right. Wow. So make sure you come on by. I'm going to have some amazing spoken word artists and some other people there, as well as my publisher, Lanita Mitchell-Blackwell. If you haven't met that woman, she is on fire in this city, doing some amazing things. And I do want to mention this, which has nothing to do with this show, but I'm so excited about it. I had a conversation this past Saturday with Marissa Alexander. If you guys know her, she was the lady in Florida that had the big case.
Stand Your Ground.
Stand Your Ground. She is out. She was officially, she was released almost 2 years ago, but she got off of house arrest in January, so she can travel now. She's going to be here in this studio May the 8th, sharing her story and everything that she's working on now. You can go to marissaalexander.org. She's got about 10 different community projects she's working on. She's doing the thing in Florida, and what they have done is unleashed a beast. That's all I can tell you, because she is fired up. She is very accomplished and educated before all of this, and all they have done is put a fire inside of her to go out and change Florida. So I'm excited she's going to be here in studio. If you guys want to stop by and meet her, I'm just excited for her to share what's on her heart and the great things that she's doing. All right. God's doing some amazing things, you guys, and we just walking in manifested dreams. That's all I can tell you. But before we go to break and introduce our first guest, we always have to mention something we're thankful for. And today I mentioned John Robinson. If y'all don't know him, John Robinson is my husband, and we have been married, oh my goodness, 21 years, 22 years. I know you didn't know. Yeah, I never talk about my personal life on this show, but the reason I wanted to bring him up today is I look at my son and the man he has become, and I know it's because of John Robinson. And there were so many times in my life where I didn't understand the decisions he made for my son, but because I have never walked through this world as a black man, I threw my hands up and I backed out of the way, because I understood there were things he could teach him and show him that I never could. And so I thank you for being the man that you are, so Gabriel Robinson could be the man that he is. That's what I'm thankful for today. Moose, I know Moose is like really confused. Right. Go ahead.
I got the nothing on face on, huh? Past couple of weeks I've been, just reflecting over some personal development type education, and I've been trying to not just read it but really make it a habit. So what I'm going to say I'm thankful for is just the generations that came before us that left information for us to take and read and grow, right? Because that information, if we use it and if we apply it, it works wonders. You know, just in a short story about what I'm saying is, my life coach taught me declaratory statements, right? And it's not the same thing as affirmations. So last couple of weeks I've been going through something, and basically I got in the mirror Thursday and I declared it was going to be over today. And I went out Thursday, and it wasn't just over, it was over easily. And if I didn't know how to use that power by declaring it and demanding it, I probably would still be struggling with it today. So I'm just, just thankful for the people that left information for us to seek on our own. If you have the heart, if you're driven enough to seek, the information is there. I mean, you YouTube what you want to YouTube, you Google what you want to Google, right? So appreciate that, because I'm learning from it, I'm growing it, and I'm making it a habit.
Awesome. Nicholas?
I come after that. I am thankful for life and living out my purpose on purpose. And I think that more so came into form this year, 2017, this first quarter. It's been probably the most trying, but it has been very rewarding, because part of my purpose is helping people understand their passion, their purpose, living out their destiny. And I think when you do that and you tap into that vision that God gave somebody else, how we say it in church, the enemy doesn't like that. So as I tap into it with somebody else, then I end up getting attacked in different forms as I try to help other people push that out. Yesterday, my car tire blew out as I was trying to get to church. I'm sitting here with no voice because of pollen, and all this is just I had to keep pushing so I can get here, because generally when I come for the B.O.S. show, I come on Sunday, stay overnight, and then leave, go back to Savannah after the show. And it was like everything possible tried to hinder and keep me from even coming this weekend. And I'm sitting here like, gosh, what is going on now? It's like the devil must be really mad at me or something. But I don't give him any credit for that. But I'm just thankful for that ability, just thankful for life to be able to understand that and to just keep going. And hopefully that inspires somebody else, that regardless of what you go through. And I posted on Facebook, the tire blowout was like horrible. It literally like burst.
It looked really bad.
And I was like, what was that? I didn't know what just happened. I thought it was like the car backfiring. It's like, no. And then my tire just went out, and I was like, okay, that could have just, spun me out of control. I could have hit some of the other cars that was come up, I-16, et cetera, but it just went into ease. I got over on the side, and all I could do was just be thankful. Just that it didn't go the other way.
Yeah, she just showed it. There it is. It does look bad.
There. So, again, it's like those different obstacles in life can't hinder you from doing what it is that you're intended to do. So if you have that passion, that vision, that purpose, you need to fulfill it, because you're not going to leave the world until it's done or whatever. So, that's about it for me.
Awesome. Laris?
Well, I mean, while we're on this whole this area of faith, I recently last week kind of went through some of the same things. So I thank God for being a God of His Word. I thank God for taking me through things in life to help me strengthen my faith, so that my faith will be able to stand up during tough times. And so when we're taught that we're covered from seen and unseen, and so some of that, the testimony that you have is, I would definitely attribute to that. And then even what I've seen working with some people who were coming down on me because of a mistake that one of my contractors made, and I thought that we were pretty much done last week, to be quite honest with you. But the end result was that somebody up top, despite the recommendations of the people who are my immediate overseers, decided to do something different. And I didn't even know that the people I was working with every day were saying things about me, except for there was an email that was sent, and I could see the collection of other emails. I don't even think that they know what I saw in these emails, and this is in black and white, you know. And so, but I believe that I didn't see that until the end of the week after the issue had been resolved. Sometimes God wants to show you that I had you covered all along. This is what was going on right here, and so I'm very thankful for that.
That's awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I know Ed Archer is waiting on us. Special Ed will be live with us via Skype from New York. You're live on the air with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Man here on the Living Like a Boss show.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
How can I describe a God that's indescribable? How can I explain a love that's unexplainable?
It's about to get real. Infatuated by the block, though it was cold, I feel a victim. And I hardly saw my pops, I played the role that daddy didn't. So if loving God's a problem, I stand bold on my decision. On that rock, I built my home, I'm on the road. Young Jimi Hendrix, time is ticking. I don't knock your hustle, but I grind is different. They say rap is not a form of worship, Al, you're not a Christian. But our people perish for the lack of knowledge. You should listen, the world will rob you for your gifts. And say they love you with their lips, but love is action. And they don't get the picture without the caption. His love is unconditional, it's difficult just to grasp it. I'm not super spiritual, I'm here to do what he asked. He delivered me from my past, I was sniffing and smoking crack, judge me. I can see it. I can see it. You did. Yeah. Deep inside, you're so emotional. Life's a roller coaster, and that drink you stay pouring up caused you to lose focus on the ones you love most. You're supposed to keep them closer. Getting high, sniffing coke just made it harder to approach them, but I understand you're feeling guilty and ashamed. Plus your daughter's getting older, soon she'll be in her teens. On the way to transition from a princess to a queen. Being locked behind bars is so much that you haven't seen. Meanwhile, it's kinda hard to smile. It's like a tug of war, and know your flesh ain't backing down. You've been through this before, it's like your second time around. Before you made it out the door, they sent the word you back in town. You still lonely. I know how you feel, man. Trapped in that cell, sometimes no mail. No minutes on the phone, no visits. I've been there, man. I've been there. But it's light at the end of the tunnel. It's sunshine after the rain. You got a savior that love you. You got a savior that loves you. Yeah. I send this track right here out the rap. Courtney Harris.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. We're listening to Instinct Radio.
I'm your idol, the highest title, numero uno. I'm not a Puerto Rican, but I'm speaking so that you know. And understand I got the gift of speech, and it's a blessing. So listen to the lesson I preach. I talk sense condensed into the form of a poem. Full of knowledge from my toes to the top of my dome. I'm kinda young, but my tongue speaks maturity. I'm not a child, I don't need nothing for security. I get paid when my record is played, to put it short. I got it made, I got it made, I got it made. I'm outspoken. My language is broken into a slang, but it's just the dialect that I select when I hang. I play it cool, cause fooling is all that I'm about. Just fooling with the girlies, yes, and busting it out. I'm special ed, and you can tell by the style that I use. I'm creatively superior, yo. I never lose, I never lost, cause I'm the boss and never will, cause I'm still the champion. Chief one, won't lose until I choose, which I won't, cause I don't retreat. I run you over like a truck and leave you dead in the street. You're inviting me a titan to a battle. Why? I don't need your respect, cause I got it made, got it made, got it made, got it made. I'm talented, yes, I'm gifted. Never boosted, never shoplifted. I got the cash, but money ain't nothing. Make $1 million every record that I cut, and my name is Special Ed, and I'm a super duper star. Every other month I get a brand new car. Got 20, that's plenty.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Big Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.
All right, you guys, you're back live with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Men here on the Living Like a Boss show. And the video we just played, for those of you who are in my age group, should have brought back some memories. And we do have the artist, the man, Edward Archer, a.k.a. Special Ed, live with us via Skype. Are you there? Hello, Ed?
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
All right, all right, all right.
Well, we just, played I Got It Made, or part of it, for our audience to get them back in that mood, that spirit, and get ready for you. It's so awesome to have you live via Skype. I know we were wanting to have you here in studio, but I'm hoping we can make that happen when you come to Atlanta for the Juneteenth event. And my guys are ready and excited. Musa Lotula, one of our co-hosts, was already saying it reminded him of the days when we used to dance.
Exactly.
Well, remind everybody who you are. Tell everybody who you are, Mr. Archer.
Well, Special Ed, the recorded artist known as Special Ed. I started my career at the age of 15. I recorded an album called Youngest in Charge, and it was released when I turned 16. I went through the court process so that it would be binding. So that was my journey, and I've been releasing records ever since. It's been kind of a rough journey too, because of the legalities involved and the music industry as it is, and them not respecting artists back then as much as maybe they do now. A lot of artists have ownership now. Back then we had none.
Well, we are so glad that you're still doing your thing. I was watching actually a YouTube video of you performing just, I think maybe last summer or something. It was great to see you on the stage. But tell us this, why have you continued in the music industry? What is it about music and your passion for music that keeps you going?
Well, I've always loved music, and hip hop is like the way that the world communicates. it's basically a medium for kids from one area to communicate with people from across the planet by words. It's like the ancient tribal communication with drums and chants. So basically, it's the same thing, just in a modern form. However, it's being a little corrupted right now, but it is the same kind of, in essence, the same concept.
Awesome, guys.
I always said that I always said the exact same thing. I used to say that hip hop was text messaging before text messaging, because when we listen to rappers from a different place that we haven't been, and we find out they're going through the same struggles that we went through and how they dealt with it, was kind of like, it was like messaging, right? So as an East Coast kid, of course I grew up on Special Ed and EPMD and Run DMC, Boogie Down Productions, and all those great groups from back then. But I never been to the West Coast. So when Eazy-E and Dr. Dre told us what they was doing out there on the West Coast, that was a form of a text message, in a sense.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right.
I'm a little curious. I got a question. How do you feel about the current state of hip hop and the influence that it has on our community with regard to? I mean, I don't even know where to begin, so I'll just leave it as general as possible. How do you feel about the current state of hip hop?
Yeah, I'm slightly disgusted on one hand, because they've diluted and diffused our whole message, of strength and power and upstanding and uplifting ourselves as a people, and they've turned it against us. Corporate has taken it over, and now the message is one of self-destruction and corruption and diffusion, and I don't really agree with that at all. Now it's like setting us backwards again when we started to come forward, so it's gone from a positive message and upliftment to negative connotations and messages of just all negative. Like, that's not where we were headed as a people or as a culture, as people like to call hip hop. So it's just a real heartbreaking for me, but my intent is to spread the message that was originally intended for us, and it was upliftment. That's really kind of where I came from when I got it made, because I'm from an inner city ghetto, or quote unquote hood, as you call it. And I didn't have any of the things I rapped about, but I had a dream or image of, positivity and showing them the life that we could live and what we could have if we speak it into existence. Mm-hmm. So I spoke it into existence, hoping that everyone else would see that picture and that image and continue that message. And in a way they did, but then, like I said, it got corrupted and turned against us. And now they're promoting, promiscuous behavior, homosexuality, laundering of money, ignorance, no education, unhealthy habits and things as such. And, that's just heartbreaking, man, as a person that was out here trying to spread the good news.
I 100% agree with you on everything you just said, and I'm going to try to ask you now, what can we do for a resolution, right? And as hip-hop spread it from the East Coast, and it went other places and just about everywhere, maybe throughout the world, I don't think everybody grasped what the East Coast, as far as like Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and those group, wanted for hip hop. So when a new territory or new founders, in a sense, say this is hip hop to me and this is what we're gonna do with it, because the kids nowadays, they saying this is our turn and this is what they're gonna do with it, right? So that's the way they'll explain it to me nowadays. But I also understand that there's a corporate power behind them, because I still buy hip hop, but all my music that I buy is completely underground. I gotta search and find it, right? But the money is pushing the ignorance and the escapism and everything that you just mentioned. So how can we combat that?
Well, one way we can combat that would be the same way we have concerts. We need to speak to the people on that large of a scale. You know, if you can have a concert with 10,000 people in attendance, then you should not only entertain them musically, but you should be able to speak to them intelligently on a platform where we can all have an attention span, listen to what's being said, and have some sort of input or feedback towards that, and some guidelines. We need some structure to ourselves, to our people. You know what I mean? I think that's most important because we do it all day. There's concerts every day, all around the world. If we can take time in those moments to reflect or to educate, then I think that would be a start.
Right, and I'd like to just chime in with regard to that. I think one of the things that we got to do, because Musa, I think me and you are in sync in that regard. I was thinking, what's the solution? I think that, and we're not trying to put any of our brothers down. We don't want to shine light on failure, but we've got to do something to magnify the dishonesty of the artists, because the adolescent boys don't know that stuff is not real. And we're in the studio right here. I came in here a couple weeks ago and sat in on a show. And I'm not against what they're doing, so I'm not even going to say the name of the show. You know, but what I saw some young men who desired to be artists, and I think they were maybe up-and-coming underground artists. And with them, they brought their entourage. And as they're freestyling in the booth. Well, it was only really one that freestyled. The other two, I could tell just from listening to it that they didn't freestyle that. And I'm not taking a shot at their intelligence, but I mean, it was clear to me that there was one gentleman who freestyled, and it was one who, the other two those were rehearsed verses. I don't care what you say. So, what I'm saying, it all feeds to, it's just a lot of ingenuine phoniness. And I'm seeing the entourage, the younger guys that are with them, out here mimicking them, and they desire to be this. And what I'm saying is that these people aren't really living these lives. And I believe that if we could cut some of this stuff, if people really saw that this isn't real stuff, that they're really not living these lives, and they really aren't banking the money that people believe that they're banking.
I second that.
Oh, of course, I definitely agree on that. And as long as we allow them to conduct themselves in that way, then it's going to continue. The brainwashing will continue. It's all a part of programming. It's just like how television and the media and the news have been programming us for decades as a people. Like, we're hooked to the box, to the TV, to the radio. We believe everything we hear and see. And with that being said, the artists are doing the same thing to their own people. That's black on black crime. You know what I'm saying? So not only are you letting other people do it to you in the mainstream and the powers that be, but now you're doing it to yourselves instead of waking up and having a conscience and saying, this is not what we want for our people.
Well, please tell us some of the projects and things that you're working on right now, Mr. Archer.
Well, right now, I've been still touring and doing shows consistently over the last few decades myself, and I've teamed up with some of my my golden era counterparts, Chubb Rock, Dana Dane, Moni Love, and Kwame, and we have a show collectively called The Alumni, where we go out on the road and we do more of golden era hip hop party, as opposed to just a regular show where we come out one by one and perform. We all hit the stage, we interact with the crowd, we involve them in the show, and we have an experience. And that's kind of more of what we're showing them that hip hop is, as opposed to what they go to a show and see now. So we've been doing that. And in addition, I also I do various things within the industry. I put together my own events at times and book artists. I'm probably one of the only artists that bring money to other artists. I actually book other artists. So a lot of people come to me and say, well, can you get such and such, or Slick Rick, or Rakim and this and that, and I go get them. You know, it may be R&B. I book R&B as well. So it's a thing where I can't do every show. And I know a lot of promoters, and they call me, and they have needs, and they want to do things. So I do booking as well. And in addition to that, I do a lot of service in the community. You know, the community I reside in now is currently Charlotte, North Carolina, and Brooklyn. So anytime that there's a cause or someone has something that I think is worthy of me coming out and being a part of, I do that. That's what I do. I'm a registered CMS volunteer here in Charlotte, and I go around with a nonprofit in particular called I Speak Now. And they have different programs, and one of them is a mock trial where we go from 4th grade all the way up to high schoolers, and they have mock trials where the children are the judge, the jury, you know, the defense, the prosecutors, the bailiffs. They play every position in the court system, and we actually have a courtroom at our disposal, and the kids have scenarios and trials in which they have to conduct and hold. So that, you know, enables a lot of critical thinking and just understanding of the way the legal system really works, and how to determine or discern and as well as be involved in the whole process. So that's one thing. And we also do arts and literacy and things of that nature. So like, for instance, my 16-year-old lives with me now. So I've been spending a lot more time in Charlotte. So I've decided to involve myself a little more into the community. So aside from being involved in other things, you know, like the Red Tie, Red Pump, AIDS awareness, you know, Scott Cares, where he provides scholarships for kids in the arts and literacy areas. There's just several nonprofits that I like to just involve myself in, where I can help and lend my support, you know, as well as you know, the Juneteenth event coming up in Heritage Park in Simpsonville, South Carolina, on the 17th of June. So I just like to be a part of the community. I like to come out and show the kids. I think I relate to them because of me being an artist, and because of, I'm kind of like, I started in high school. So not that I'm stuck in high school, but I can relate to the kids that are in high school, because I was there in that struggle, wanting to be heard and wanting to be received by adults in a respective manner. So I kind of relate to them in that way. And even the younger kids, you know, because I have kids. I have 3 of my own. You know, I have a lot of nieces and nephews that I relate to. And I don't know, I kind of gravitate towards the youth and having them have a say, because I was 15 when I started. So could you imagine a 15-year-old? I wasn't discovered, by the way. I went out there and I sought what I wanted. So while in high school, I went out and I found a producer that believed in me, Howie T. He lived across the street from my cousins, and I went and asked my cousin, yo, take me to Howie's crib. I need for him to hear me. She took me over there. I said, yo, Howie, I need for you to hear me and tell me if you want to work with me. At the same age, I walked to KRS house when he lived in Flatbush. I knocked on his door. Yo, what's up? I hear you own your own label. And he was like, well, technically, you know, he broke it down to me, and I was like, okay, well, I appreciate your time, no worries. and went on about my business. So this is how you have to deal with business in an intelligent way. You have to be able to speak to people with intelligence and dignity, and it's not about, yo, let me rhyme for you on the street, or let me rhyme for you on the phone. This is a business, so you have to treat it like one. So I did that at the age of 15, and then got some managers interested where they shopped the material and got to deal with Profile Records. And that's where it all unfolded. But just to show the youth that you don't have to be out there begging or playing yourself in an immature way to get things done. You can speak intelligently, be forward, and you can get things done. You can get people to believe in you and to, hear what you're saying. You can be heard if you deal with the situation in the right way. And that's what I project to all the kids I come across, is that I did this at 15. You can do it too. It's nothing for you to get serious, stop giggling, take the laugh, take the jokes out of things, and go and deal with what you want. Speak intelligently and get what you want out of life.
Well, we thank you so much for sharing, and I look forward to seeing you whenever you're in the area. I know we talked about having you on another show so we can have a longer interview with you as well. Now, for people who are listening, if they want to reach out to you, they want to connect with you, how can they reach you via social media or email?
Okay, I'm on Twitter is @SpecialEd, and my Instagram is @SpecialEdMusic. If you're on Facebook, just put in Special Ed. I'm sure I'll pop up. And I'm all over the country performing, all over the world really, performing regularly. So y'all can catch me. And if I'm not performing, I'm speaking, as in the Juneteenth event, June 17th, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. at Heritage Park at the amphitheater in Simpsonville, South Carolina. There other artists will be there speaking as well. David Banner. They'll have Rick Mathis is going to have the premiere of his film Black Friday. And there'll be food vendors, things of that nature, African art and dance. And we commemorating the end of slavery in America, on June 19th, 1965. So that's what this is really about. And even though, maybe the physical slavery might have ended, the mental slavery still exists. So we're going to discuss that and talk about that. And that's some of the things that I like to discuss and bring to the platform wherever I go.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to possibly being there. I was just talking to the B.O.S. guys about us possibly being there. So we look forward to meeting you live and in person. And we thank you again for being on the show today.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. And it's an honor to be included in these types of discussions, because I think it's important for us to know.
Absolutely. Well, you have a great day.
All right. Thank you. You all too, gentlemen, ladies.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right. God bless.
God bless. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, David Clay is in the building, and he'll be live here with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Men on the Living Like a Boss show.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
Until you conquer the enemy in yourself, you can't deal with anyone. In order to be used by God, you have to really be used. We always want to be used for the glorious jobs. Look, God put me on the stage in front of the people in the Grammy show with a nice dress on. Let me just praise your name. But that's not being used. Sometimes in order to be used, you also have to be humble.
Yeah, at 22 I started getting high. No, I mean really getting high, was close to suicide. My savior died so I could live, but I would choose to die. That foolish pride had me in the mirror asking, who am I? I could hardly recognize myself, I started losing weight. Would plot to rob close friends if they were moving weight. Been up for days, dozing off to have a rude awaken. Pockets empty, money on my mind, I'm in the mood to take it. Extreme hunger pains where dope can only soothe the aching. I wanted to feel love, but first I had to lose the hatred. Sometimes my mom would run away and she could be gone for days. Looked me in my eyes and said she tired of giving her soul away. And just for the dope she sold her body in the coldest places. And there were many times she walked away with no payment. But that was years ago, and by the grace of God we made it. To be used first, you have to be humiliated.
When I think about the things that I went through, Lord, you know I'm grateful, cause I'm sold out to you. God, you brought a change when I called your name. My life just ain't the same, and I'm grateful that I know you humiliated.
How do I start to share my heart when I'm not sorry enough for how I felt when you don't It's dumb luck, they calling it. It was you though through all of it. Now I wanna call it quits. You jammed the hammer and called me friend, but I don't understand it all. How could you have planned this all? Try to walk right, trip and fall, and I just wanna end this all. Can you hear me when I call? The pastor told me that you can break a man, remake a man. So tell me now if that's your plan. If it ain't, I'm out then. I'm pulling when I count 10. Get the 3, I hear you speak. Your blessings, you should count them. Doubt them, I get that. They people, we ain't equal. I set my seed to die for you. I need you for the sequel. Didn't know this was a part 2, and I could play a part 2. So make a way to take my pain away and have my heart too.
When I think about the things that I went through, Lord, you know I'm grateful 'cause I'm sold out to you. God, you brought a change. When I call your name, my life just ain't the same. And I'm grateful that I know you humiliated for you.
Yeah, thank you, God. One of the greatest kings that ever lived wrote this. In sin did my mother conceive me. He was considered lower than his 7 brothers. Some Bible scholars say that he was born of a different mother than his brothers. So he was treated like an illegitimate child. So much that when the prophet came to his house and asked his father to gather all...
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Instinct Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.
All right, you are back live with Regina Sunshine and the boss men here on the Living Like a Boss show. And we have our second official guest of the day. Welcome to the show, David Clay.
Hey, greetings, everyone.
How are you today?
We're all doing awesome.
I love that. I heard you said that earlier. Well, you know, I know you sent me another bio, but this is what I pulled from LinkedIn before you sent me your bio. David Clay currently is a high school math teacher. Is a graduate of Tuskegee University in electrical engineering. Received his master's in education from Eastern University. Mr. Clay is currently enrolled in Mercer University Leadership Program to obtain certification in educational leadership. His short-term goal is to become an administrator in the school system, and his long-term goal is to operate a charter school that engages the community that it serves. I love it. It's so perfect that you are here for this show. So it looks like you started out in electrical engineering. How did you get into education?
That is the $1 million question. That's where I'm supposed to be. But I will share with you. I'm an educator, and I'm a community activist. So really, the time that I'm spending in the classroom is more research. You know. Because there are a lot of things that I know now and I see now that I could not have seen had I not spent the time in a classroom. Yes. So the way that I perceive school prior to and how I perceive it now, 2 different worlds.
And that's how I met you. I met you in your classroom.
Absolutely.
And it's very interesting to be in that space and to see you, I guess, in this space. But you're a different kind of teacher. I'll say that because I'm in multiple classrooms and you really engage the young people in a way that not everybody is. And it's obvious that you're trying to reach them, not just teach them math. Why is it important to you to reach them outside of the curriculum?
Well, I mean, our youth are our future. And if you read the book, The 4 Agreements, I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Yes.
But one of the things it opens up with is how our minds are dumbed down by society to fit in. And we make that agreement, whether we realize it or not. And so on one level, you can say you're selling your soul to society. You're giving up your actual purpose, your true inner spirit. And so when you look at the prison system that we have in America, and you look at the educational system, you can find a lot of parallels. And so we as educators, if we're not careful, we become servants of guiding our young boys in particular into the prison system. Because if you study the history of education, education was never designed for a certain group of people. A certain group of people were always an afterthought in education. And so there's no time in history where we have really truly been on the forefront of how we're going to use, how is education in America going to be used to elevate this community. So there have been those amongst us that have come, that you spoke to before us, that thought outside of the box and created schools and created scenarios in which we could be elevated. Obviously, we think of Booker T. Washington, go back to my school, Tuskegee, and all the other men and women that created schools, universities. And now we have some people creating schools. But, you know, I listened to you talking with special ed about how we're going to address the music and the impact that it's having on the youth. And I truly believe that the answer to all of these questions, no matter how you slice it, is going to come back to education. And so the real challenge I believe that we want to take on in our generation is, for once and all, creating a true movement where we begin as a community, as a race, to dictate what happens inside of those walls and those buildings, and not sit back and let someone else make those decisions on our youth.
Absolutely.
I thought I was looking at my bio when I was reading his, except for when I saw the Tuskegee part. Morehouse man here. So,
all right.
Welcome. The reason why I was saying that, because a lot of what you were doing and what you're going to is kind of where I am now. I have the math background, have the ed leadership degree, and now I'm actually just not going into the classroom. So how do you address the piece when you have students that have this notion, even at a young age, that they hate math, they hate science, etc.?
I thought I had it solved, and the universe blessed me with this tremendous opportunity to grow there at Mays, where I'm at now, because the students are rejecting on one level what I put forth. I open up my whole classroom is based on, hey, I know we're not going to use this math, so what can we get out? Because we're going to do this to get this graduation diploma. So what can we really get on? What can we focus on? And my thing is communication and work ethic, because I don't care where you go in life, you're going to need to be able to communicate, and you're going to need a strong work ethic. So let's agree that that's what we're going to focus on in this classroom as we do this math. But what has happened, what I've run into, is that the students are deficient in the skills. So what you have is you have a group of students that have the desire to want to compete at a higher level, but lack the skills and don't see the connection, because the connection lies within, right? That I'm lacking something, and in order for me to get to that next level, I have to address what I'm lacking. But if I'm not aware of that and don't want to deal with that, then I just need you, the teacher, to get me to the level where I know I want to be. And then when I'm not getting there, I got a problem with you, and now I got a problem with this math because I don't really need it anyway. What are we doing this for? We ain't going to use it. So that's the chant of the defeated. It's like, you know, basically I'm giving up. So my calling card is, we ain't going to use this, so this is a waste of time.
Right. And I started at the early age. I had a third grade class that was already had this mindset. I hate this. And it wasn't until during that flex time, there was this young guy. I ain't gonna call him a problem because he's not a problem kid. It's a matter of he's got bored easily, so he just was disruptive. So what I ended up doing was, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna give you a different math problem given to everybody else. So I gave him 4 or 5 digit division, and everybody else like, oh, we want to do that too. So again, he had the more challenging problem, but it kind of then pulled everybody else into this whole thing. First of all, when we started, everybody wanted to get on the computers. Like, no, we're not going to get on. Y'all going to earn getting on the computers today. So it was like, well, we never did that kind of multiplication. Well, that's how you're going to get on the computer. So in essence, no one ever got on the computer. We kept doing math problems the whole period. But what I kept seeing was a matter of, you have a teacher who's not challenging you because they see you as a disruption in the class. So they're going to give you your work and then let you get on the computer. And then by the time you get to the 4th grade, et cetera, you're still deficient because someone's not challenging you because of what they see, not right. Because of how, you have to do this differently for you, et cetera. So that's.
So let me just put this thought out there if I can, because what you're saying is right on point. What if you were called to a meeting? What if you came to the same meeting and you were at the meeting, and someone asked you, what outcomes do you want to come out of this school? How would that feel for you?
How would I feel about it?
How would you feel being in that room and someone asking you, what outcomes do you want to see from this school? How would that make you feel?
Very empowered.
How about you?
Same.
You?
What outcomes do I want to come from the school?
Mm-hmm.
And like I have a child enrolled in that school?
No, you just live in the community.
I want to see sharp students leave. When they leave, like leave with some wisdom, with some knowledge or understanding of what they came there every day for.
So I pose that question. You know, sometimes they say the question is more profound than the answer, right? Mm-hmm. We have within us the ability to create that. We have that ability to have people in communities to walk into a situation and be asked that question and be given for the first time empowerment of what they want to see in their schools. And I wrote this while I was over there. As it came to me, and it says, when the community, home, business, church, culture, does not impact the school positively, because there are communities that, because of the community, the school is going to reflect that community. The schools always reflect the community, whether it's positive or negative. It's reflecting, right? When that's not happening positively, then the school must impact the community.
That's right.
So we're not just educating those kids. We got to educate the parents of the kids. Mm-hmm. We got to educate the businesses in that community about who we are and what we expect to come forth out of that building. And that we cannot waver on. And so we can't allow each teacher to figure out how they're going to educate our kids. But that's what I've come up against. It's the only profession that I see where a professional is allowed to figure out how they're going to do it. Your doctor don't figure out how he's going to, treat you. They give him a specific program that he will manifest. It don't matter how many doctors have you been to in your life.
Probably like 3.
3. Have they been that significantly different in the process that they use to serve you?
Not at all.
No.
That was going to be my question, because you guys was talking about 3rd and 4th graders. I basically checked out of school in 4th grade. I knew traditional education wasn't for me. From kindergarten through 4th grade, now I'm a guy that just left Africa. So I come to America with my African accent, and I'm hearing these stories, and I know they wasn't true, because I just left Africa, right? So, right?
But you weren't sure. You had to think for a second.
I was like, no, I just left. I didn't see Tarzan. I didn't see him, right? But besides the kids making fun of me, also, but the education system, the curriculum, like, maybe it don't seem like this, but it was kindergarten. Yeah, you guys had Martin Luther King, but he got shot. Yeah, you guys had Malcolm X, but he got shot. Yeah, Harriet Tubman, she was the one that got away. And it was that kind of education through, sprinkling a little math and a little bit of, science or whatever else, right? But I knew that education wasn't going to help me survive my neighborhood. And I'm in the ghetto in New Jersey. So my struggle was to get home safe. You understand? So I had no idea what Harriet Tubman and whatever happened, and everything great was Christopher Columbus and all those great guys. They wasn't going to stop the bully on the corner from bashing my head in, on my way home. But as I was fed the same curriculum from kindergarten to 6th grade to 8th grade, and then when I get to 12th grade, and listen, I did as minimal as possible to graduate high school. I graduated high school for my father, not for myself. Just so my father wouldn't say I had a son that didn't finish school. But I get to 12th grade, and they say, well, you know what? Christopher Columbus never found America. Amerigo Vespucci, or whatever his name was, he found America, right? So I'm like, these guys was lying to me the whole time. So I became really street smart as a counterpart to book smart. And now in my years now, I'm really into the books because I know I need both. But talking about the kids that's disconnected from school, I was one of them because the curriculum. So my question to you is, my daughter's in a charter school, and I figured I would send her there because I wanted to be different than the public school I went to. How much control over the curriculum are you going to have if you're getting federal money to teach a school?
I mean, that's the $1 million question, and that's why I'm saying that we have to re-engineer our mindset, the adults, and begin to demand what it is we want in our communities, in our schools. That has not taken place yet on any grand scale. You know, and we have to dictate to the government because it's our tax dollars. The money is not just coming from anywhere. It's our tax dollars of what we, right now, we measure school by two main things. What are those two things? Test scores.
Money.
Athletics. I mean, some people are going to schools because they got a great football program.
Yeah.
I mean, all right. So, and then we look at test scores. But there's not anything much in between that we really are measuring by. So, are we measuring how they're dealing with young men that are displaced? Do we measure what programs they have there for them? Are we asking those questions? Are we doing the research to say that we know this program exists here in Harlem, exists in Chicago? What would it take to bring it to Atlanta? We want to see that program instituted in Atlanta. What do you got? You know, and so we have to challenge the school board and the politicians and what have you. That's how we have to organize.
And for the people that created that curriculum where I went to school, and this is 80s and 90s, right? Was it like a universal board that creates it, or is it because I also went to a school that was maybe 96% white, and I don't think I had the exact same training, but I was already turned off from education, period, anyway. Right. So even though I went to maybe a better school as far as curriculum, I was still getting D's.
I mean, the community can shape the curriculum.
Okay.
I mean, the principal can have some influence, and the teachers there, the school board has influence. But if you want to see certain types of programs, you want to see entrepreneurship, more business, and you want to add certain courses into the curriculum, then you can demand that. Then they have to go out and find the teachers. Or you want to see STEM, engineering. I mean, it's all out there. You know, we want studios for the kids to be inside the school where we can have some influence over the music. Maybe that's part of the solution. Because if you're going to be doing music here in this building, then this is how it's going to look. This is the expectation. It's all there. What I did at Rock Chapel was I was able to, by the grace, to meet with the superintendent and take that small little park there. When I got to that community, there was no basketball. Everybody was traveling 15, 20 minutes to play basketball. But there was a gymnasium at all the elementary schools. There was gymnasium in the churches. There was gymnasium at the high school, the middle school. I went to the superintendent and said, hey, I want access to the schools. That was what was in his mission. And he agreed. And so now if you go to that community, they're playing basketball and have been doing it for over 10 years as a result of, and they don't have to travel anywhere. So I say all that to say the end on, we have to refocus on educating and arming ourselves of what our expectations are for our schools, and then going down those pathways and forcing, I don't like to use the word forcing, working with the powers that be to create something that is going to benefit all of the community.
Well, you know, at the end of the show, we're going to bring everybody together. We're going to have a group discussion about this. Before we end your interview, I want to ask you about your book that is written. but not published, the subject matter, because you talk about some things in terms of commerce and changing our communities.
Are you talking about the blog?
Well, you mentioned manufacturing specifically and impact.
Yeah, I wrote a blog a couple of years ago, and I haven't continued. I did write a book, I haven't published it, but the blog simply states that buying black will not solve our economic enslavement. And so I put forth a couple of positions. One, buying black, we should always support businesses in our community. That's obvious. Well, it should be obvious. But that has been really the only major solution to solving the economic conditions in our community all these years. And so then you have to deal with, are we or are we not economically enslaved? And so that gets into the value of the dollar and the multiplier effect of how a dollar turns over in a community and all these different things. It gets into our buying power, et cetera, et cetera. So I give you this example very quickly. If you were to own a McDonald's in our community, if you were to own a KFC and you had a Wendy's, right? That would be a black-owned business, would it not?
Yes.
Who does that benefit the most?
Corporation.
All right, absolutely. Who else?
The suppliers.
Tax dollars, tax man.
Well, don't forget yourselves. You're the owners.
Sure.
Your family is gonna benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if all of us come in the community and support that business, first of all, I can only eat so many Big Macs. I'm just gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But I'm supporting every time I want a Big Mac, I'm going to your McDonald's. I ain't going to the other McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
How many jobs is that gonna create?
Few.
I mean, you gonna put more people to work because we're supporting you? I mean, you only need what you need, right?
Right.
So I say that to say that where we really want to operate at is we want to be the ones that have a factory in the community that's supplying the ketchup to all the McDonald's.
Right.
We want to sell the boxes to UPS. We don't want to work at UPS.
Yeah. We want to change what a black-owned business looks like and the reach, because that's where we're going to create jobs. The other place that we overlook is when we go in these supermarkets that have tens of thousands of products on the shelves. What percentage of those are black-owned products? You know, or can we do the shelves? Where can we get in the game at? Like, we have to broaden beyond just the physical edifice. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what that book was getting into, in creating an economic system where our money would turn over, and educating us about that. So that's what that was about.
Awesome. You got anything before we go? I know.
Time.
Time.
How much?
Yeah.
I'll say this. When you said about the fast food stuff, I was actually thinking more of a long-term goal. We'd be better suited as a community if none of those places were in our community. Mm-hmm. So, but I'll address. So I know we're going to get time. We do the round table. I'll bring back up some of the stuff.
Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for being here. If someone wants to contact you, what's the best way to reach you?
Right now, I'm still underground. So you brought.
I know.
I'm still. The Lord has me in an incubator stage. I'm within a year window of coming out full force with what I'm bringing, but God is still working on me. So they can reach you if they want to contact me.
Sounds good.
You'll be the gatekeeper.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our next guest live you here on the B.O.S. Show here on Instinct Radio.
To Instinct Radio.
They gotta fill us on this one, man. Yeah. No gray.
Maybach music.
I got my man with me. I done made a few mistakes, so many I can't count them all. That hurts to contemplate. So painful, I need Tylenol. I fight for heaven's sake, and I'm just waiting on that final call to speak the angel's dialogue. I'm out the swirl, sayonara. Satan so deceiving. He tricked me in believing I had freedom, selling crack and being approached by different demons. In my mind, forgive you. I know you ain't wanna leave me. Getting high just made you greedy. I was young and you ain't need me. Now it's different. I'm in a more significant position. God bless me with this gift, so when I speak, they tend to listen. Church supposed to uplift, but when they speak, it's so much tension. It's just a few that's on the list. This ain't no diss, don't get it twisted. Convicts who get convicted, or sinners who read scripture. It's amazing how we label those who don't fit the description. But he made me, only heaven has a cure for all these symptoms. As a baby, I was clueless, but as a man, I seek redemption. How about now? Cause we were lost back then. People I call my kin. I used to cross my friends. My struggles had no end. My screams had no sound. Seed had no ground. But Jesus, how about now? I'm screaming, how about now? Cause we were lost back then. People I call my kin. I used to cross my friends. My struggles had no end. My scream had no sound. Seed had no ground. But Jesus, how about now? I'm screaming, how about now?
Yeah, so can you hear me now? All these 50 shades of gray shouldn't be allowed. Now when Jesus saw a problem, see, he cleared it out. But for us, when it's uncomfortable, we give a smile. Wow. Ha. So can you hear me now? Do I have to become famous so you'll hear me out? Because I'm so outside the box, my faith they really doubt. But see, I saw where we were headed, so I
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
All right, you guys, you're back live on the air. Regina Sunshine, the Boss Man, here on our Educating Our Boys segment on the Live Like a Boss show. We have our next guest up, Mr. James Hamphill. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So good to have you here.
Yes,
little second home connection, I guess you would say. Greenwood is my second home. But a little bit about you. You are the founder of the Edgewood Community Center in 96, South Carolina. 96. Yeah, there's a place called 96. I've been there. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm a very simple man. I believe if you want to get it done, do it. Just go ahead and do it. All of the education is a wonderful thing, but sometimes if you really want it, just go do it. A lot of our people, we just sit around and wait for some magic moment. I got to have a degree. I got to have X amount of dollars. I got to have this. I got to do that before I give back to our kids. Sometimes you got to say, you know what? It's time to stop all that and just start doing. So that's what I'm about.
So tell us about the Edgewood Community Center.
Awesome.
You lit up when you said it, too.
Awesome. That's awesome. We were deeded the old Edgewood Middle School in 96. It was maybe a 3 to 4 year process of trying to acquire everything we needed to get the facility. Well, we got the facility, but they say be careful what you ask for. We got it, and ever since we got it, which was last March, we've been just rolling, trying to do the best we can with what we got.
So what are some of the things that take place in your community center?
When we first got it, we created a flag football team. There's a projects right behind us at Edgewood, so a lot of kids just kind of walk through the streets every day with nothing to do. So I said, you know what? We got it cleaned up, and said, you know what? Let's do flag football. Kids loved it. We had some of the kids come out. We had some of the brothers come out who may have gotten in trouble with the law and couldn't coach or mentor through the rec system. Yeah. They came to help us. And our kids love seeing their dads out there helping coach, love seeing their uncles out there helping coach. So it was a pretty good thing for us to do, and that was the first thing we did. Then we had the summer program, which never was done in 96 to my knowledge. We did the summer, we had about 40 kids. We fed them breakfast, lunch. We did education too. We made a point to say, you know what, we'll do education first, then it would do summer fun stuff. We went swimming. We had a swim day. We had a library day, which we was required to read a book and give a report on Fridays. We did current events. I would ask our kids, and our kids love to be challenged. If we can just build their confidence, they want to answer questions. Yeah. But a lot of them just don't know. You see what I'm saying? Because they don't have the people at home, for whatever reason, to challenge them at home. So when they came to the center, we challenged them every day. My daughter would tell you, every day I ask questions. You know, who is the vice president? Who is the president? Who is this? Who is the governor of South Carolina? These things we should know, and we really don't know as far as our kids. So we doing a lot of things down there. And right now we have an out-of-school program going on from from 2:30 to 6 every day. We feed them free. We have a feeding program, home cooked meal. which was provided by Miss Edith Childs.
Oh, Edith
Yes.
Childs.
She gonna
Fired
kill-
up and ready to go.
There
I
you
know
go.
her
And she- yeah,
from that
she-
with President Obama.
And
Yeah.
she's still fired up, ready to go too. And I'm gonna give a shout out to my sister, Stacy Douglas. We're putting together a Juneteenth celebration, June 17th, and that's gonna be a big program, and we'd love for y'all to come up and take part in it.
Yeah, so, okay, you said, one of the things you said I really did appreciate, and it kind of piggybacks off what the other gentleman was saying, is that we just got to take action.
Yes.
You know, and so what it is that you guys do you have a way of charting and seeing kind of the path or the progress that the children who come through your program have later on in life?
Great question, but to answer your question, no. Again, with me, it's simple. If there's a kid that last year was in ISS all the time or thrown out of school, and this year he completed a basketball season and making C's and B's, that's my progress.
Oh, absolutely.
See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
If I had a kid who was a troubled student, thrown out of school, who mama may have came to me and said, I can't control him, and then I have him during basketball season, and we finish the season, and he's hungry to learn and get better as a person, that's my chart.
So I guess with that, and the reason I even posed the question, two things. A, do you find it growing because you get the support back from the individuals that you may have helped? Because as we know, there's somewhat of a generational divide, and so if you can get those who have the program has had impact on come back and help, you're going to help grow the program, and of course when we start talking about, unfortunately, funding is a part of everything, and we want to get away from federal funding, right? So the independent funding, I asked that for purposes of, could you use some of these testimonies and stories to get, because I myself, even if it's just $100, would invest in something like that if I knew enough about it, you know, to help to, grow the project or program.
Yes, sir, and that's a great point. But again, we all have lanes.
Sure.
The educational part of it, the stats and all that stuff, that's not my lane.
Gotcha.
My lane was to get to school and to have these kids somewhere to come and be a part of something. That was my lane. And so what we did last year, I didn't mention this, we created a middle school basketball team. We had a boys team and a girls team. And the reason why we use sports, because sometimes you get the kid through sports.
Right.
You can't go at them and say, we're going to do math today, y'all. We're going to do blah, 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 Spanish or something like that. They ain't trying to hear that. But if you say, look, we got a basketball team. Oh, for real, coach? And everybody know me as coach. Even my nephew, nieces, I'm still coach. But what we did was we did a middle school basketball team. We got a lot of kids from Genesis. Genesis. Genesis is an alternative school in Greenwood, South Carolina. Yeah. These kids may have made a mistake in school and one time, and they're done for the year. So they're sent to Genesis. You're not allowed to step on the school's property, go to any games, or do anything. So those kids are just thrown to the wayside. And I've seen that year after year. So we created this team, and I went to the principal at Genesis, Mr. Coleman, Steve Coleman, as a matter of fact, different one though. Yeah. And he was like, James, that's a wonderful thing you're trying to do. Let me help you. He actually called kids out of classroom to meet me, and we signed them up. We had a 16-game season, went 14-2, and those kids loved it. And they had a chance to go and play other schools, which they wouldn't have had a chance to do. Mm-hmm. So it was awesome for me.
Isn't Shirley Johnson at Genesis? Miss Shirley.
I have no question.
Yeah,
I mean, I have no answer.
She's a teacher there. Yeah.
Reason I just know Mr. Coleman, because he said, James, I called him first and said, this is my plan, what I want to do. Can you help me? I need kids. He said, come over here and let's talk. I went over there, and that's how I went.
I love it. You want to say something?
No, I'm just amazed. Like you said, you have a project in the back of you, right?
Yes.
In the back of the school location. Is it the guys that's attending school? What about the guys that's not enrolled in school? Do your program also allow them?
Yes, sir. We have open gym sometime to where, matter of fact, we're the only facility in 96 that has like a gym. Well, actually, the schools does, but they don't have access to go to the school's gym. Matter of fact, I have a young man right now. I won't call his name, but he was thrown out of school, thrown out of the district, and was told he couldn't come back to school ever. Okay? This child's mother signed a contract stating if you get one more thing, if you do one more thing in school, you cannot come back to any of our schools in the school district. Okay? So the mom came to me, and long story short, we got him set up online. He comes to the center every day, Monday through Friday, to do his schoolwork online. If we didn't have a facility there or opportunity there for kids like that, he would be in the street doing God knows what. But he is doing well now. Awesome. He's caught up in the schoolwork, and he's progressing, and he's doing okay. Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome. So what are your dreams for the future? What are your dreams for the Edgewood Community Center moving forward?
I think I'm a Garveyite, which means I want to be able for us to build something as a group. Instead of complaining about what we don't have and what so-and-so doing and this, that, and the other, don't complain about what's going on over there. If you want something as bad as you claim you want it, do it yourself. You know, I'm kind of, my daughter over there, I'm kind of debating and torn with the issue of homeschooling, because I want my daughter's education to be a lot better than mine was. Okay.
Absolutely.
And one major problem I do have with, let's say, the schools. I may email a teacher, no response. I'll call the school. Well, we'll get her to call you back. Sometimes it's 3 or 4 weeks before I hear from her. My baby's first, I'm sorry I'm putting you on blast, baby. My baby's first report card, okay, B's, couple C's, okay. Next 9 weeks, she dropped 20 points in math. To me, that's a problem.
Yes.
Finally contacted the teacher. Well, she finally returned my information. She was like, well, I have 100 and some students, Mr. Hamphill. I can't email you just for your daughter. That, yeah. So I said, you know what? But again, that's the mentality of some of our teachers anyway. And yes, some of them are overwhelmed, and yeah, it's a lot of kids and all that, but you took the job. No offense, you get paid to do that job. And if a child drops 20 points in a grading period, that parent needs to know what's going on. You know, I don't want her to fix it. I want to fix it. If I can't come to school and sit in the classroom with my baby, at least tell me what's going on so I can help my baby at home. If you can't do that, I don't have no clue what's going on in the class. My baby can't tell me because she's dropped 20 points. How do we fix that?
No, I mean, I agree. My teachers used to tell me, regardless if I learn or not, they still get paid.
So, I have heard that.
So I definitely agree, but I also feel like teaching is a hard job. I mean, and I don't know how we can get more money into the education system to maybe hire more qualified teachers, I guess, if you can say. But I remember one teacher that demanded respect. Yes. And what she did with her classroom, like, you knew if you walked past her classroom, you wasn't going to be as rambunctious as a child as you could disrespect every other teacher in the whole school. But this one teacher, she had it. And she was probably getting paid the same paycheck as the other person. You understand what I'm saying?
That's what's missing.
So it's a I'm not sure if it's caring or if it's a mentality or just a drive to make a teacher demand the respect that they deserve. And
teaching is a calling. It's not for everybody. A lot of people go into education because I'm telling you, here in Atlanta, teachers get paid really well. I don't know if people, if you look at the salaries of the teachers in the school systems around here, is a lot higher than it is in other areas. So they're paid well. But I see what you're saying in terms of there's some teachers who care and some who don't. And if they don't care, they shouldn't be there. Yeah. That should be, somehow there should be some type of way we can measure who is really impacting the students, and not just who's getting high test scores, not who's just, whatever it is, getting some type of accolades, but the ones you can see that the students are running to, the students are hanging around their classroom because they know this person cares about me. There has to be a way that is being paid attention to, and the ones that don't care, get them up out of there.
Yeah.
Period. Get them up out of there.
Yeah, and I don't want to sound like I was poking at teachers because I know we need them. They are doing a real important job. Just like you said, it's the ones that really care and the ones that, like, you can see it. You can see it when you go by their class and everybody is sitting in their seat. Exactly. I mean, and they're focused. They're locked in to that teacher. Whatever. I'm not sure if it's magical, but just whatever it is that teacher has control over her class. I mean, maybe she needs to write I'm sorry, I'm losing my words. But maybe she need to write a script on what she does to control her class.
Well, that's the key thing, control. If you don't have control over your class, it's gone. I've substituted in classes to where you can tell whether the teacher, I'm giving me my Barry White voice, you can tell how the teacher was, because then it'd be like, okay, I'll just leave my notes for, everybody sit up. I was in the class the other day, I write my notes, said like, okay, whatever. So it's a matter of, at some point, it's a matter of you take control day one, and you set it to where it's not like you're a dictator, but you're an educator. And we're going to sit here like we were just saying in the last segment. It's a matter of you have to like do that mutual, dialogue, that mutual respect in order for that to happen. Because otherwise, it's going to be whatever.
Set the tone, right? Set the tone.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the same thing. I think that in any relationship, whether student, teacher, business, the time to let people know who you are is day one. You'd be better off fighting it out the first day, and then at the that's going to set the tone for how the rest of it's going to go. So.
Absolutely. Well, you're going to hang around to the end of the show.
Yes, ma'am. One last point, though.
Yes.
We really can't blame our teachers. We got to start at home.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, there are multiple components to this thing.
Yes, but I hear a lot of people say teachers.
I said it because I'm a teacher.
Oh, okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. But a teacher can't really mold a child. The child doesn't want to be molded or not even attempted to be molded at home. Mm-hmm. It's got to be a connection between the two.
Well, that goes back to when I say everybody has a part to play, everybody has a lane to be in. There are people in the community who are meant to go and minister to parents and reach the parents. There are people in the community supposed to reach the teachers. There's somebody for everybody, and if everybody's playing their part, then all the work gets done.
Great point.
And so that's why, and I talk about teachers because I'm a teacher, and I see the ones that don't care, and then I see the ones that the kids know you care, you expect a lot from me. So I'm gonna rise to your level of expectation because you expect so much from me. I don't want to let you down. Exactly. Even if my parents don't expect anything from me, you see the best in me, and I'm gonna rise to what you see in me, and that makes a difference when kids see that in the classroom.
Those are the ones you can't shake. It's like that wet booger. Like, go somewhere.
Yes.
Always stay around.
All right. Well, we're gonna take a quick break.
Right.
Tell everybody how they can reach you if they want to get in contact with you.
Info@edgewoodcc.org. That's my email address. Again, info@edgewoodcc.org.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Dr. Kedar Griffo is here, and I know he got a lot to say. He's been over there holding it in. Yes, you do. Live there at Regina Sunshine and the Boss Man here on Living Like a Boss Show.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. We're listening to Instinct Radio.
He shot again, and once my friend felt that shot, he turned around and he put his hands in the air, and he started to get down, but the officer still approached with his weapon drawn, and he fired several more shots.
Instantly, hundreds gathered, angered and saddened by what they call a complete overreaction by the officer. Now a family is demanding answers.
If there's no justice, there won't be peace. We'll let the struggle go on. Let the struggle go. Watch us let the struggle go. If there's no justice, there won't be peace. We'll let the struggle go on. Let the struggle go.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. We're listening to Instinct Radio.
All right, you guys, you're back live with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Man here on the Living Like a Boss show, and it's been a great show so far. I think all of our minds are working right now, but we welcome to the show our next guest, Dr. Griffo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's so good to have you here.
It's cool, so good to be here.
Please tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'm like all of the other guests that have been here. I'm just a brother that's looking to help free our people mentally, spiritually, financially, culturally, and trying to do whatever I can do to assist in that effort. That's it. Simple.
Well, tell us a little bit about is it Zoser?
Zoser.
Zoser Research Society.
Zoser Research Society is an organization dedicated to disseminating information based off of our culture, based off of our religious backgrounds, various religious backgrounds, So we disseminate books, write books, we do lectures, we do any type of engagement where we're trying to educate people about the great history of the African peoples.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we do. We work with any organization that's involved in trying to help with our communities as well as the larger African diaspora. So that's how we do.
Well, I know one organization.
Okay. So we partner with anyone that we feel is effectively trying to get things done for the community. Yes.
Disseminating information. Can you break that down a little bit? Is that like statistics when you say disseminating information?
Mainly in the form of books. However, we'll do videos, we'll do TV shows, we'll do any particular way that we can disseminate information, whether it be social media. Again, these are a few of our books that we've written. We do lectures, we go anywhere. So based off of whatever the subject matter is, we're not afraid to tackle any subject matter, and we'll go for it regardless of what it is. So that's how we disseminate via our books, via websites, newsletters, things like that.
So basically what you're saying is when they make statements like the winners write the history books, you guys go back and say that wasn't necessarily true?
Absolutely. When someone becomes an author, they become an authority.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm going right along with your train of thought, because they have become the authorities on what XYZ is. And when I say they, I mean the powers that be, the white exceptionalists. I don't call them supremists because they're not supreme, so I call them exceptionalists. They make exceptions to everything. You know?
I like that.
So we're going back and we're correcting the wrongs. We're setting the record straight as far as when you're dealing with a lot of our history. Yes, absolutely.
And I see Freemason on one of the books. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. As we go around the world, and we talk to different people via social media, via these interviews, etc. And people find out that I am a Freemason, and then they'll go into the whole, well, Freemasons, y'all run the world, y'all are devil worshippers, y'all are, etc. So then we have to correct that. We have to go out, because a lot of our brothers and sisters were Freemasons, still are, and Freemason helped liberate black folk back when we were going through the whole struggle from the Lincoln era, etc. So we fought of course, in the Confederate Confederate War, etc. So a lot of Freemasons were there, so they were on the forefront of helping liberate the people, as well as within. I'm an Army vet. I'm an Air Force vet, actually, and so there was a lot of us that were inside of the military world. We're in the religious world. We're all over. So we had to take away the negativity surrounding Freemasonry, or at least that's what we're trying to do, by attacking the certain things that they would say about Freemasons. So a lot of us have members in our family who are Freemasons, Eastern Star, Shriners, etc. So that's why we tackled that particular subject.
Okay. So what sparked your passion, your drive to go in this direction?
Learning. I was born this way, actually. My parents were Black Panthers, so what they were going through while I was conceived became a part of my DNA. As I further learned African sciences, I started to learn about how, by looking at someone's birth, you can determine what type of child that will be, what their interests are, what will their interests be, what they will excel in, what they won't excel in, the type of difficulties they will face. So by learning that and realizing who I was just programmed like this by my parents. And then as I started to see the injustices as I got older, and I started at a young age. When Reagan got shot, I was in school saying, I hope he die. I know that's kind of cruel to some people, but from my vantage point of the way I was brought up, that was right for me. So it's just been a part of my DNA.
Well, one of the things you mentioned that you guys focus on as Ozer Society is the secrets to success. What is something you can share right now with our audience, one secret to success?
Sure. Once you learn who you are and what your purpose is, again, this might rub some people the wrong way, but Africans utilize the system, what's presently called numerology now, and some people also call astrology. Okay, once you understand numerology, you can determine what the day is going to be for the day, what the day is going to be for the month, and how it affects you. Once you know what you're going to experience for the day, you will know then how to move forward. That is a quick, easy secret to success. So then the Europeans utilize this science, and every time you fill out an application, every time you fill out any type of job interview or whatever, you have to give them your name and your social security number. With your name and your birthday, I can tell you who you are, what type of characteristics you have, and what's going to be your difficulties for your life. So with that particular type of information, I can chart for you from that point. And so there's people that sit around and they do this on a regular basis, and they know how to move throughout the day, watching the moon, watching the stars. You know, these are African things. These are things that originate with our people that gave birth to everything else that you see. And so look how successful we were as Africans before this kidnapping took place, and how successful we'll be again as we continue to go back to our ancient selves.
Very interesting. You said you're a child of Black Panthers, and so I was kind of wondering if you're being followed today, to be quite honest with you.
It wouldn't matter. I'm not afraid.
And so, nonetheless, I've got a good understanding of what you do, and so I guess kind of in concordance with this whole idea of educating our youth, I'm curious to get your opinion about the educational structure in our public schools, and do you think that we should be into charter private home schools, or just your views on that?
Actually, I would love for us to control the education of our children, just point blank, period. The problem that I see is lack of ownership. And I'm going to go real quick because I know we're pressed for time. When you get a rental car, you get that rental car and you treat it like crap. You get your own car, you wash it, you clean it, you pepper it, you pamper it. You wear your own tennis shoes, you pamper it. You get your clothes, you pamper it. But anything you don't own, you don't treat, you don't respect. That's why neighborhoods look like they do. They throw litter because it's not theirs. Mm-hmm. But if you own a home, you live in a neighborhood, you're picking this paper up because you own it. And because we don't have ownership of our school systems, then the parents don't really care about it. The people that come into the neighborhood from somewhere else don't really care about it. So now, to get more specifically into your question, I think that we need to be African-centered. If the kids don't love themselves, okay, then you can't expect them to learn somebody else's history and embrace it, or somebody else's information. So we first got to get the children to love themselves, meaning their image, their hair, their nose, their lips, their skin color, the way they talk, the way they walk, the foods that they eat. Once we get the children to learn that, then we'll be able to impart on them anything that we want, because I was one of those children. I rejected the European school system. But it's when I started to learn about who I was, then I'm like, oh, okay, so you mean to tell me you got math from the Africans? You got algebra from the Africans? You got geometry from the Africans? Okay, I want to learn it now. You know what I mean? Your language came from my language. You know, there was no Greek if there was no Ethiopian. So once I started to learn and accept me for me, then I was able to accept anything, and then start to excel, because I knew at that point my history was greater, longer, and I was more of a, I'll say it, I was a supreme being compared to the other people that I was surrounded by.
And that you are.
Yes, absolutely. Now, you talk about being an authority and being an author. Why was it important for you to then author your own books?
Because as reading other people's books, as reading, like I said, growing up in the curriculum, going into the school system, I saw a lot of injustices. You know, I saw a lot of things that I just didn't agree with. And as I traveled the world, as I looked at different things, and I started to say, wait a minute, that's not right. Let's correct that. That's not right. Let's correct that. That's not right. Let's correct that. So I finally got to the point where I was ready, and then I started. So I started with this book, and then that book led to this book, and then this book, and then this is the latest edition right here, where people reading the Bible don't even realize that God resides inside of them. And so it's like, okay, why aren't we learning this in the church? or why aren't we learning this in the school, and why are we learning this in the lodge? So it became, let's just correct things. So as we learn, as we know better, we do better. You know what I mean? So you would never, again, look at a European Jesus and say, that's God. No. You look in the mirror and say, that's God. Because God was made in your image and after your likeness. So that's what it is. It was about correcting the wrongs based off of the things that I saw and read.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in agreement with that. I mean, I think that we have to first love ourselves.
Yes.
And then we can begin to find our purpose. But here's what I see as the biggest problem. And I know that when we get into the next segment, roundtable, it'll all be addressed really. But is we have a society that everywhere you look and everywhere you listen and everything you're exposed to, and even what you just said with the church would be the one place that you think you can find truth. We are taught to not love ourselves. Everything that we see tells us to not love ourselves. We were taught to not love ourselves. We didn't even come out not loving ourselves. We have been continually indoctrinated not to love ourselves and not to challenge what we are told.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's one of the main things that us who do know have the obligation, like Solomon said, with much knowledge comes much sorrow.
That's right.
Us who do know have the obligation to expose, and what I believe when you said disseminate information is to dispel a lot of myths.
Absolutely. Okay. So when you look at it, like you're going into the church, you know, with the Sunday school lessons, we're looking at European figures. You know what I mean? Even though everything happened in Africa, because there was no Middle East, you know, way back then. That was Northeast Africa. So all of the Tigris Euphrates from Turkey all the way down to, or all the way up to South Africa was African land. And so the images that we put in our books, of course, have an African, when we say Hagar, Sarah, and Moses, you know, they look like your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your cousins. So then you will be able to identify with those. I can't identify with some blonde-haired boy sitting in Africa that supposedly lived in Egypt when we know Egypt is Africa. What part of Africa are you from, brother?
Liberia.
Liberia. Okay. See, my family come from Sierra Leone, so you know, same thing. It's like, no, that's crazy. How is that even possible? You know. So, but unfortunately, a lot of the preachers are afraid to address this thing. Not all of them. I'm just saying a lot of them are afraid. We're afraid to offend our white friends by speaking the truth, but they had no problem showing this white Jesus to us and saying, you know, this. But so because we don't love ourselves, I agree with you 1,000%. That's become the biggest failure within the black community.
Well, and the people who say that they represent God don't really believe in God either.
Of course
so
not.
I mean, that's why they're afraid to say anything,
Of
because
course
I don't know what God they serve, but the God I serve, I don't have to be afraid to say.
Exactly. You shouldn't be. You shouldn't be. So again, I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother.
No, my thing is always solutions, right? So North America, 30+ million African Americans.
Right.
South America, Brazil,
100 million.
Yeah, another 45 or millions more Africans outside of Africa than North America. How can we work within the system, because 30 million of us is not getting on a boat to go and start our own little right? And the same thing for South America, right? How can we work? And I kind of use Jews as a kind of example because
they work together.
They went through something and they came out of it. But keep in mind, they didn't go through something for 400 years.
Right.
You understand? But so what advice can you give to us that want to do something to say, we have to operate in this system, but we got to make the system work for us?
As I was speaking to brother right here, a great example for me was looking at the folk that annexed Stonecrest. Now, I've been talking annexing Stonecrest for at least 8 years before it was done. Well, I don't know who heard me, but no, let me just quit tripping. But here's the thing. We annexed the city, right? So now what they do is they go back to brothers like you that got connections in Liberia. Liberia makes what? Cocoa, rubber. Right. So then we partner with you as a sister city, set up a shop in Stonecrest area. You follow? And then we export whatever you're doing into our businesses. Then we go to Nigeria. They're making cars. In Ghana, they're making cars. We set up a plant there. We employ our people. Then we go to Brazil. You know, we do the same thing everywhere where African people are. We go, we set up sister cities with the Americans, the Black Americans, and then we be able to exchange, with trade, and then work with each other
to
and build a base
to build up our community economically, I guess.
Right, as well
so
as
we could be dependent.
Exactly, as well as assist those other countries where our people are located. So yes, I say set up sister cities. We control the, of course, we control the mayor, the police department, the city council. We get a racist police chief, we fire him because we own the city. Yeah. So when you own the city, then you'll be able to effectively control everything about it. You follow? Yeah. So then, like I said, all you got to do is just Stonecrest. If you're listening, Stonecrest, set up a sister city with one of these African countries that are building things, and we give them a tax break. Let them set up a plant. Now you get to hire all of the brothers that are released from the prison system that Europeans won't hire, but we can relax the rules and we can hire them. Now they can be able to pay the child support. They can be able to help out their families. You follow? And then as we get brothers making money, then they'll be able to do things and be able to contribute back. And you know what I'm saying? We keep expanding. You follow? That's it. It's a simple process. All we got to do is just step forward and get it done.
Oh, I love the direction this is going, but we got to pause. Oh, God, I love it. Please tell everybody who you are and how they can reach you.
Kedar Griffo. I don't use that doctor stuff. That's I'm a brother.
It was on a paper when
I know. I had this. I was told to submit that. But you can reach me. Send an email, kedar.griffo, KEDAR.GRIFFO @gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, or at least Zoza Research Society is on Facebook under Zoza Research Society. And that's way, those are two ways that you can reach me.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to bring all our previous guests back and bring our new guest, Dr. Marquita Blades, and let her share a little bit and then get into our quick roundtable discussion about educating our boys. You're live on the air with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Man here on the Living Like a Boss show.
The biggest station in the world, playing all of today's hits. We're listening to Instinct Radio.
Spend time with your family? Sure I do. But listen, a man that doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
You're my older brother, and I love you. But don't ever take sides with anyone against the family again. Ever.
Yeah, I ain't the man, I just know his name. He more like Superman, I'm close to him like Lois Lane. Seen close friends lose their life cause they ain't know the game. When some tried to get over, they got left in the slowest lane. I'm coasting, but the key is to stay focused, cause God set me apart if you ain't noticed. My past is corroded, somehow it seems to haunt me in my dreams. Me and my daddy got along just like Lucius and Akeem. Not exactly an empire, just excuses from the fiends. Guess that explains why I turned to music as a teen. My stepfather was Muslim, we hardly had words. He did a bid in New York, they released him with bad nerves. Now I got some younger siblings, and I'm so terrified with all the killings. And the thought of heaven gets that more appealing. If blood thicker than water, why is it easier to spill it? Lord, forgive me, cause they got me in my feelings.
Yeah, we spread love in spite of how much it hurts. But it's not received well, and they fight against the word, though. Hardly around, my family means the world to me. We shine like diamonds, he made us from the dirt. In his image, we are kings, and we don't fear a thing. David killed Goliath with some stones in a sling. Until it rains fire, that's one thing that we believe, that when you're rock bottom, you still fit for a king.
Yo, once before I dreamt of being happy. I'm from the hood, that's D3, and I hope they draft me. Slave to a servant, to a chauffeur, a humbling experience. How do I grow without knowing about agriculture? Trying to be a dad without one, and be your best friend without one. I don't know where to start. My daughter asked questions pertaining to life's answers, and that's when doubt started cartwheeling in my heart, nauseated in my stomach. Principle of preference, the world says natural. She can be with a woman, and I can keep sinning only if I learn from it. Cause God gave me a choice, society chose for me. Feels good, then it must be right, right? I've been created to consume and enjoy life. Human secularism.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning into the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Instinct Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.
All right, you guys, you're back live with Regina Sunshine and the Boss Men here on the Living Like a Boss show. This has been our Educating Our Boys episode, and we've met some amazing guests already. Newest person added to the panel is Dr. Marquita Blades. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Regina and Boss Men.
Well, you know, one of the reasons I wanted you here is because you are an educator that trains educators. And so you have a lot of connections. You see a lot and hear a lot that maybe the rest of us don't see and hear. Talk to us again real quick about your background.
So I describe myself as a recovering mediocre teacher. I spent 16 years in the classroom as a STEM educator. And the reason why I call myself a mediocre teacher is because there were some years when I was fabulous and very effective. And there were some years when I was in survival mode, like the teachers that you all spoke about, who just weren't effective and who weren't reaching the kids the way that they needed to be reached. And so I realized that if there are not a certain number of factors that are in place collectively, teachers should not be teaching. And I made that realization and removed myself from the classroom. And what I'm doing now is working with teachers to help them think about, are you teaching what you love? Are you teaching the students that you love? Are you in the correct environment? And if all of those things don't work together, as well as your personal life and other things that you have going on, you can't be effective. And you need to be really honest about that, and you have to make that hard decision to say, maybe my time is up. It is a calling. And of course you were called to do it, but that doesn't mean you're called to do it forever. And maybe it's time to move into another phase of education where you can be more effective and allow someone else to move in and work with those students who can impact them in the way that they need.
And you call this the Mediocre Teacher Project.
Yes, the Mediocre Teacher Project. We are helping teachers escape the mediocrity trap, either through training to help them remain in the classroom or helping them to discover what their gifts are and to move on to something else.
Now, you've been here for the entire show, so you've heard our conversations today. You, as an educator who trains educators, what are you hearing from the educators in terms of what's going on in the classroom?
Well, the number one thing with educators is that they are tired and they are frustrated. They are constantly having mandates thrown at them of the way that they must teach students. You cannot do this. You cannot say that. You must have these standards on your board. You must spend 5 minutes on this topic and you have to move on. And you're not really allowed the freedom to engage the students the way that the students need. And so for most teachers, it's just become, can I meet everything that I'm being evaluated on? And it's less about, can I meet the needs of my students? And in addition to that, some of them feel like they can't go anywhere else. So what else am I going to do at this point? And so that's where we have to work with them and help them realize that you do have something that you're good at. You do have some strengths. Look at your most effective years. What were you doing that made that year so successful? And those are the skills that we want to help them focus on. And some of those skills are meant to keep them in the education arena, and some of them may take them out of the education arena.
I'll leave it for the teachers.
Well, you know, I'm not a traditional educator. You know, I went to school for engineering. I'm a chemical engineer by education, and I was tutoring at a school in South Carolina, and I kept being asked to teach. And what I found there was that I had a calling that I didn't know I had. But it makes a difference, and I've heard this from students, when you know a teacher cares about you, when you know they're there because they want to be in the classroom with you every day. For the teachers that are having those challenges where they don't, you know, you can see maybe they don't need to be in the classroom every day, what are some of the other avenues that you are kind of helping to direct them in?
So one of the things I realized about myself is that I would get most excited when I was planning lessons and creating projects and also managing summer programs. And I realized that I'm more of a behind the scenes kind of person. And it works best when I plan the experience and then hand it off to someone with a little more enthusiasm and stamina who can carry it out well with the students. So one thing I encourage teachers to do is to work in education but not in the public school system, because maybe you are still meant to deal with students just in a different way that's not as restrictive as the public school system may be. And also look into your curriculum development skills. Maybe you need to create your own online course so that you can do it exactly the way that you do it, utilizing your talents, and then of course you are going to be more effective. It's just like we say with students who are gifted and sometimes they act out in class because they're bored. why can't we apply the same thing to teachers? Some teachers are acting out in the school system and in the building because they're being bored. They're not being challenged. They're not being able to work in a capacity that's best for their learning style. We tend to think that, okay, we apply all these principles to kids as they're going through school, but these same kids now become adults. And some of them are teachers. And the way that we taught them in school is not how we're allowing them to function on the job. And that's why we are getting so many burned out, mediocre teachers who can't even apply their true gifts and talents to what they're doing every day.
Like they're just running on the treadmill. So do you target principals in terms of giving professional development to teachers, or do teachers just find you because they just like, oh my gosh, I need Doc?
I've been targeting teachers and administrators. So I want administrators to realize as well how to recognize the signs of a mediocre teacher. If you have a teacher who is super talented and you know that you see something in them but they're not giving it every day in the classroom, principals need to be able to recognize that and to step in and intervene, because we are also losing a lot of teachers who their time has not really expired, but they just don't know what to do and they don't get the support from their administration. So I'm targeting everyone.
Oh yeah. Okay. When I read your bio, I was very intrigued by that. I thought that it was so admirable when you say that you got tired of being kind of in a mediocre role. And so I think that kind of the summation of a lot of what I've been hearing. First off, the oligarchies run this country, and they use the guise of the government. The government has really two roles for you, either slave or taxpayer, and a lot of times that's both. There is no cookie cutter formula that works for people. I mean, if we look at our own history, whether it's George Washington Carver or any of the great inventors, whether it's Dr. Charles Drew, and even though he's had some political issues, Dr. Ben Carson, weird people that think outside the box are the ones that actually change the world. And so we're constantly being taught that we have to do everything this way. So one of the things that I picked up on, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu wrote a book, Counteracting Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys. And so when we talked earlier with special ed, I was thinking about it. A lot of what they're doing, whether it's through athletics or through rap music, or even if it's they promote our drug dealers in our communities to be people that we idolize, is that they are giving us a vision of what we should be and what we need to strive for. And Dr. Kunjufu said, what you do most will be what you do best. And so if you're being taught that your avenues, your way out are these ways, then these are what people are going to continue to focus on. We have so many talents in our community, and so just the summation of what I'm happy. My soul is pleased to be around you gentlemen in every capacity, because what I see is people who are saying that this is what I do. And so if we step out on faith, then we'll be able to get people. God will supply the people around us who do the other things to supplement and complement what it is that we do. And that's what I'm seeing here. When I look at what you're doing, this brother here, I continue to hear the what and the why. This is what I do, but this is why I do it. I use whatever it is that I do as a platform for my why, and my why is to reach people and educate to help undo the miseducation. Okay, so that's what I want to say in a nutshell.
I would like to speak to your point. It goes back to ownership. And we spoke earlier about how do we combat this problem. And I made the point that it may not be an entirely bad thing if the Department of Education is dismantled, because now it presents an opportunity for us to open our own schools that address our issues and address our students according to our culture. So we have to stop believing that someone else has the answer. We have the answer, and we have to step out, as you stated, and just start doing it and making it happen.
Well, tell us, moving forward, what are some of the projects that you're hoping to be a part of?
So immediately on April 22nd, I am hosting my Break the Mediocrity Trap Mediocre Teacher Workshop. I've invited teachers and administrators to come and just to do some reflective exercises and engaging activities that will hopefully start the inner conversation that some teachers need to have along their path of discovery of whether or not they should remain in education or if they should move into another phase of life. And I also have a book coming up that is called Escaping the Mediocrity Trap, 7 Lessons from a Mediocre Teacher. So I'll be sharing my ups and downs in the field of education and just clarifying for people that mediocre does not mean lack of talent. It does not mean lack of passion. It just means misplaced because some other issues are impacting your abilities to fully function.
Awesome. Where's the workshop? How do we register?
Yes.
Oh, yes. You can register by going to my Facebook. On Facebook, I am Marquita Smith Blades. Also, they can email me at theeducationdoctorllc@gmail.com.
Awesome. Well, before you go, because I know you've got to go, the topic today is educating our boys. And from you being in the classroom and dealing with other teachers, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see that our boys are facing?
The lack of encouragement and the lack of being able to relate to the educators that stand before them. A huge issue for myself. I would always tell my students, I'm from Griffin, Georgia. I grew up in the projects, and they would say, Dr. Blades, you are not hood. And I had to realize that I'm trying to relate to them because I do understand the background, and we share a similar background, similar demographic. But my mindset was never one of a project kid. And so there are some things that even though I was in it, I wasn't of it. And so I still can't relate to them as much as they needed me to and as much as I thought I could. And so what I think the biggest problem is that we, again, have to be very honest about who we're standing in front of and if we need to be standing in front of them. And as an African-American educator, do not think that you have to work in a 100% black school to have an impact. When I look back at my own practice, I realized that I was the most impactful when I worked in a diverse school with African-American kids who came from varying income levels, because my mindset was more aligned with a middle class mindset, even though I didn't grow up middle class. And so those kids connected to me more. So to administrators, just be more intentional about selecting the teachers and the group of students that you plan to put them in front of, because that's going to make a huge difference in whether or not the connection is made.
Awesome. Any question before she goes, guys? Yes.
Until we're able to get our own, what steps can we take to change the curriculum so it be more catered toward our cultural background?
There are a lot of educators who are making sure that they incorporate things that students do on a daily basis into their lessons. So some teachers are doing that through music, through poetry, through film. So, yeah, and you just have to be very creative and intentional in the examples that you choose. Yes, you do have standards that you have to teach to, but you can teach that standard using several tools, and so teachers need to spend more time thinking about that.
Just to mention one of the tools, like Larry just said about the people who think outside the box. Yeah, if you feel like teaching is your calling, you don't, like you said, you're finding a place for those mediocre teachers to go somewhere else. Keep in mind, Anthony Robbins made $400 million in one day, and he's a teacher. So he's completely outside the box. He doesn't work in a school curriculum, but he is a teacher.
Absolutely.
And also to answer a question, I study the classrooms I go into. I'm a substitute, and I look at the way that a teacher decorate their classroom. There's a lot of information, but a lot of it just bought. And then there's some I go into very creative. I'm like, I would have never thought to, do that. So that's another way that they can incorporate. But again, it's about how they choose to, do that. And one last thing before you go, what would be that piece of advice you would give to a person? I talk about myself, asking for a friend, to a person where people think that they're a good fit for the classroom, but they don't necessarily think that they're a good fit for the classroom.
Do you mean the teacher doesn't think?
Well, you know how everybody can say we need more male teachers in the classroom. Like when I go to a school, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good to see more men in the school, et cetera, et cetera." But a lot of times, I went back to my middle school on Friday, and I probably would never go back there again.
Okay.
Because I know that that's not a fit for me. Because again, raised in the projects, but this is a new level of, I ain't gonna even say hood, because like my nephews go to the school, but in terms of being able to reach them, it's, I ain't gonna say it's far out, but it's just a whole different world. And I know that I would not be effective in that particular school with the set that where I try to challenge students. I don't care what grade you in, there is already, and I was at 6th grade level, so I can imagine what 7th, 8th grade is like. But in terms of, those people are like, oh, you need to go to this school, and some people fall into that, and then they go and they try, and they're like, what did I get myself into, or whatever. So what kind of quick advice would you give to someone in that particular situation?
Short term, just volunteer. See the students in multiple situations on multiple days, so that you can really get a feel for how they are, because they tend to be different the first time they meet you.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, I would say just make sure that you do your research. And again, think outside of the box. Maybe you're not meant to be their teacher, but you come in once a week and host a mentoring program, or just a study group or a book club. So there are several ways that we can get people in front of our students without going the traditional classroom teacher route.
Awesome. Well, we thank you so much for being. Oh, Mr. Clay, you have.
Yeah, I just wanted to just say one thing for you to consider. You probably already have in your as you write your book, but as you spoke about mediocre, I expanded it beyond the teacher, and I liked your definition. What was your definition again?
It doesn't mean that you lack talent or you lack passion, but that you just don't understand the best way to utilize your gifts, and there are other issues or factors that are affecting your ability to be impactful.
Yeah, so I'm immediately would like to see in your book mediocre parents, because it doesn't mean that you're not a great parent and that you don't have passion or love for your child, but there are other factors that are happening right now, and you're not being effective in the situation. So I would like you to speak to that. Mediocre administrators, politicians, pastors.
Well,
I mean, a whole series of books.
I'm laughing because I shared this idea at a Happy Black Woman retreat. It was a mindset, manifest your vision retreat in January, and I shared this with someone, and she immediately said the exact same thing. And so I have a full list of mediocre volumes.
Woo!
It's gonna be like,
I love it.
The new version of Chicken Soup for the Soul.
Yes.
There we go.
I love that, and I know you got to go, but it's so true, because one of the things I told people, I said, just about every area in life, people have to get education and training, or even mentorship, except for parenting. And I think because we just think we're supposed to know how to do it, we don't go seek help. And I was one of those parents who saw other parents. I had 2 mothers that mentored me through the entire time I was raising my son, me and my husband, so that I could have somebody to go to, say, I ain't never been through this before. Tell me what you did with your kids. And so I think when he's on, this is definitely a needed tool, along with all your other media. But the parent one, for sure.
Well, and I have one last comment. And that is, in other fields, we invest the time to grow whatever we want to grow. And I don't feel like that investment is always made in teachers. And that's how they fall into the mediocrity trap. And that's how we lose some teachers who we really shouldn't be. So, some are leaving well before they've even reached their pinnacle. And then some are staying, beyond their expiration date. But we need to take the time and find ways to invest in our teachers. And we need to do that early on. Not after they've had 10 years of being ineffective, but within a short window of getting into the profession, so that if it's not for them, we haven't really, I don't know how to say, but we haven't punished our students, and we haven't exposed our students to someone who really can't help them.
My last question, and don't hold nothing back. How do you feel about Bessie DeVos?
Great question.
Go.
This is how I feel about this.
Okay, I get that.
That was like her sitting here and all over.
Yes. Well, tell them again how they can reach you.
You can find me on Facebook, Marquita Smith Blades. You can email me at theeducationdoctorllc@gmail.com.
Awesome. We're going to take like a 10-second break to give Dr. Blades a chance to get out of here. Then we're going to close out the show in 10 minutes. Thank you so much for being here.
The biggest station
Ain't
in
know
the
what
world,
else to say.
playing all of today's hits. You're listening to Instinct Radio.
She ain't have an idea, but the boys had a motive. Word around town is that they loyal and they soldiers. Do anything for the bread and ride till it's over. Now they got this girl involved with a crime they could've told her. The irony of the story, they supposed to be in love. This girl got kids, but his focus isn't her. She facing 30 years, it ain't open to be discussed. Reality really hit when them cops open the cuffs. When she heard them cell doors open up and slam shut. What's playing through her mind is how he get me jammed up. He ain't a real man, cause if he was, he'd stand up. She was labeled the mastermind of the robbery planned up. It had been a long day, the night was coming to a close. She was the shift leader responsible for the store. He ran off in the back and she was counting up the draw. Put the money in the bag and put your body on the floor for the ride. Life's too precious, he had to be desperate for a woman he slept with. He got her arrested, he never confessed, but I imagine he dealt with a lot of regrets for what he did to Precious. Life's too precious, he had to be desperate for a woman he slept with. He got her arrested, he never confessed, but I imagine
Ladies and gentlemen, you're now tuning in to the very best. It's yours truly, Jazzy Fizzle, Fizzle, Fizzle. And this is Instinct Radio, man. Tune in, baby. Oh, boy.
All right, thank you guys for staying with us here. We're running over a little bit, but that's because we're having such a good time on this fine Living Like a Boss men's show today. We left off with the doctor a little earlier, and she had to leave, but we've had so many good ideas today. Such empowering and important dialogue from a lot of intelligent individuals and educators at that. And so one of the things that I would like to say, and then we'll get everybody's take on it really quickly, is about what are we going to do now and how do we bring it together, right? Because we've got different people who are doing different things and everybody's in their lane, but how do we bring it together? One, we know that we have to have community involvement because this is a community. And then the next thing is how. So one of the things that I suggest, and I don't know how we're going to go about doing it, is that we have to get the community, the parents, the businessmen, the investors, the church, everybody in the community to understand why they must be involved. And they need to know that from the incentive standpoint as well as the consequence standpoint. And so the incentives are this. If you're a real estate investor and you own property, you want this community to be good, you want the schools to be good because your property value is attached to it. All right. If you are, and that goes from the people who live there and the people who just invest there. If you are someone who has children there and you're raising sons and daughters and you want them to have an opportunity to marry a halfway decent spouse, you are invested in this. You know, if you care about your children, then we need to be able to show them the consequences, and the teachers need to know the consequences of what happens when our children are not educated. So I just wanted to kind of kick that off and throw that out there. I know that there's a lot of good ideas, and we're up against the clock, so feel free, gentlemen, to comment on what do you think we need to do now.
Well, yeah, this has been in my spirit since I was invited to the show, and I was watching the previous episodes of the show. And so what God was saying to me is that we need to sit down after this show and meet and begin to strategize and organize. To your point, he said, keep it simple. You see something, make it happen. So in that meeting, we need to select a school district or a school, and then use our collective resources to then do the question that I asked you guys earlier, which is the whole vision is to bring a community in and have them to be empowered by asking them, what do you want to see out of this school? So it's going to take us dealing with some things politically, which is no problem to get politicians out legislatively. It's not going to happen overnight, but we want to begin to transform how communities interact with schools and set that precedent.
That's a great point. And to go off what you just said, it has to be several of us in several communities all at one time making this happen. You guys from Atlanta, I'm from South Carolina, but I'm in South Carolina now trying to make this happen. I'm partnering with people in Greenville, Stacey Douglas Foundation. We're trying to build a network of people partnering together to have the same goal and the same outcome for our kids.
My thing is this: we like to hold the political people accountable for what they're not doing, but we're not holding the people in the community accountable. I think one of the biggest places we need to hold accountable is the church, and make those preachers be accountable for building businesses. If we're bringing in thousands and thousands of dollars every week, tithing and et cetera, then some of that money should be funneled into the community where the church is actually located. Not the preacher takes the money and go to his nice exclusive community where, around the block is a bunch of dope dealers, So I feel like we need to hold the preachers accountable. And one of the quicker ways that I think that we could do this or to have them assist, is by all of the members that go to the church. You have them fill out what their skill set is. If I'm a plumber, if I'm an electrician, and let them train people in the community so they can have a trade, to be able to make funds, because like I said, a lot of the brothers in our community have records. Yes. But if you're a contractor, you can do the work anyway. Nobody's going to ask for your criminal record when you're out trying to make money. So have the people that have the skill sets do the pro bono work to do trade, to teach the young people trade, or any of us that want to learn to trade. So then, there might be a little competition with you, but you got years and years of experience. So we'll be able to effectively give people that need skill sets and to be able to make money, the ability to make money without them having to try to, sell a $5 bag, a nickel bag here, nickel bag there. And then, of course, if this legislation keeps going, then the whole dope dealer is going to be out of business anyway, because you can go to the local dispensary and get a weed. So I would say let's hold the people in the community accountable, and not only us, but like I said, the so-called leaders, being the black preachers, male or female, and hold them accountable.
And I think with that, you also have to look at the businesses in that community as well, because most of the attendees to most of the churches don't live around there. They're from somewhere else. So it's a matter of, it's a collective thing where these businesses, churches, other organizations, et cetera, have to actually get out to know who's in that community, because that's the only way they're going to trust. I can't garner the trust of any student of any classroom I go to, because when I only go there once, they're like, you're a sub for one day, we're going to do whatever, we ain't going to see you again. Okay, well, you can act that way, but then when I keep coming back, when I keep going back, then that tends to build something a little bit different. I go knocking door to door. Well, not even that part. It makes a difference when I sit and I can call a student by their name versus when you over there in the green shirt, you in the orange shoes. And that was one of the things that I did not have the opportunity to do on this past Friday, because I wasn't given a roster. Every other class I've been in, they're like, how you know my name? Because now they know, you can write a detailed note on what I did or did not do and give back to someone versus, okay, I'm just X, I'm just Y, etc. So the same thing kind of go. If we're going to impact the young boys, the young girls, whoever, we have to get and understand and know exactly who it is that they are. Why are you doing this? Because a lot of times, if they're coming from a single parent home, that mother or that single parent father needs assistance to themselves. So you can't expect them to be to those school board meetings because they're probably working. So if there's no one that's going to advocate, take the information to them, like, I know you wasn't able to attend the meeting. This is some minutes of what actually happened. This is how you get them involved. We keep thinking, oh, well, y'all not showing up to the PTA meetings. You're not showing up to parent-teacher night. Okay, if you don't understand why they didn't do it, it's not going to help. Teachers generally all have classrooms of about 100 students. It's just 100 people that you just make sure you need to get to know and interact with. So again, that's kind of just piggyback on.
So I'm hoping, I'm hearing that everyone is willing to sit down at a meeting and look at how we can organize. I will say this in terms of Black Lives Matter. One day, I gave a speech impromptu that just came to me. People got really upset when they saw on video black boys or young men being shot at point blank range by cops. But what people don't see, which I see every day, and it tears my heart to pieces, is the silent shots that are being fired at our black boys by teachers not noticing them, not believing in them. And the saddest part about it all, as a teacher, I fired those shots. That young man, Conrad Benton, I thought that young man didn't know anything. He's another genius. You know, I wrote him off just by the way he looked. He sat in the back of the class, he didn't say nothing. You know, when he was doing the work, I was like, man, you can't do this work. You don't know how to do it. And I connected with him. Now he's working hard, and he's showing me what he can do. And I try not to do that. I try not to do that because I care about our black boys. But if I'm shooting silent shots at them, they're under fire all over this country every day. But that doesn't get on no videotape. That doesn't get on the news. So if we believe that Black Lives Matter and we're upset about it, this is the place for us to organize, to begin to protect our young black boys and get them out of going down the line to that prison that these schools have them on the pathway right now.
Well, you know, it's almost prophetic that you said what you said, Mr. Clay. We have a young man who is officially now part of our team, Michael Dreamer. He is our B.O.S. ambassador, and his whole mission is to create a space where the men who come through this show meet in a collective way and see how you can partner together to do greater things. So what you said, it was on his heart. And the first time he came to the show, he said we can't leave this room with this conversation and not go somewhere else and make plans to do something together. So he will be in contact with y'all. And he was going to be here today, but he had somewhere else to be. So I thank you for saying it, because it's very important that even though we have these conversations, that's one of the things we've talked about from the beginning with B.O.S. B.O.S. can't just be a conversation. There has to be something that takes place after you're here that makes us even having this conversation worthwhile. Because if it's just another conversation, we're wasting everybody's time. And we have to be doing something in connection with this that makes a difference in our communities. So we got to wrap up. I thank y'all so much for being here. Any parting words from anybody? A book you want to mention that you read that helped you on your journey? Yeah. Or a website or an organization or just anything that's on your heart before you go.
Do for self. Just that simple. Do for self.
I'm a Garveyite too, so I'm under the same thing. I like everybody's ideas, and like I said, we all work together, and we can make it happen. Again, for you people that's got that new city, you got the opportunity to create a really good example for everybody else, and I hope y'all do it well. If not, call me. I'll help you.
Awesome. Parting thoughts? Those were your parting thoughts. Awesome. Laris?
I'm just in agreement with that. Let's take it. Let's do something with it. Great show today. Good being here.
Awesome. Nicholas?
Awesome. Let's keep pushing. That's about it.
Great show. Really inspirational. All the guys here was actually great. A lot of good advice. And my book, something that I'm on now, Law of Attraction Planner.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm glad you stayed with us. That's a good thing about Facebook Live too, hopefully. If you didn't catch the whole show, go back and watch the show. Also, it'll be on my, I've got a new YouTube page. Finally, I'm going to be uploading shows. People are always asking for shows, so you'll be able to go back and watch that as well as in a couple of weeks, this will be on People TV as well, and you'll be able to experience that with the other 3 million views. That's a blessing that we've been given that platform. To the boss men that are listening, I tell you these words: you are a champion. You were born to win. You are more than a conqueror. You will achieve your dreams. You can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. You are magnificent, beautiful, amazing black men, and you are worthy of the best things in life. Make sure you tune in next month. Next month, we're going to be tackling black men and mental health. It's going to be an amazing show. It's a topic that keeps coming up over and over again. We felt like it was time for us to deal with it. So we've got some people who work in the mental health field. They're going to be here along with some other amazing people that are concerned about this issue, because it's something that we don't often talk about, mental health in the black community, period, but specifically black men and their need to be able to step out when they need help and say, I need help. So we're going to have that conversation here in a very transparent way. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Our boss motto is this: our men need each other and our community needs our men. Make sure you guys continue to be blessed, keep winning, and keep living like a boss.
To Instinct Radio.